Park. Your weekly dose of all things FSU, pistols, and pies starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
The Seminole headlines right here on 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Great to be with you. Hope you're well. Big night tonight, boys. Before we get started, we've got to always remind our listeners and viewers, if you're watching on Warchant TV, like and subscribe, of course. Great to have you on board. Good to see you, Stephen. Like and spike, as he says. Good afternoon. And that, Register sausage is delicious. There's no reason that you haven't ordered it yet, or if you're in Tallahassee, hell, just swing on by the Publix. There's mountains of it.
Did you see the Tally Mac Shack guy tweeted a photo at us the other day
Did he?
of some concoction they've come up with the registers.
Your mic's not even on. Matthew, we gotta get Corey's mic on here. I understand he could be a
guys. I mean, you can't deprive the listeners of what I just said. It was probably the best thing I've ever said on the show.
Damn it, man.
But so it's got the register sausage, the jalapeno cheddar, with just a mound of other stuff like mac and cheese. I mean, they're
mounds are great.
The
mounds of anything, yeah.
Really, mounds are awesome.
The jalapeno cheddar is enough on itself.
Yeah, you don't need a mound of that.
Some mounds of other stuff.
But anyway, just another good partner for Register Sausage who wants to partner with all the local restaurants in town. He's
that's right.
Registers Ben the sausage guy is a good guy and has done. I mean, he had the registers. He had the sausage during COVID. I forgot what he called it, but he did outreach. He provided free sausage to local businesses to help them during the quarantine. And but anyway, he's in Seminoles. It's a great Florida company, and you can order it online at registermeats.com or go to, as you said, all the grocery stores in the Northeast Florida over to Jacksonville. Northwest Florida over to Jacksonville, down into I think they're getting down into Tampa and Orlando. Boom. And you can order it around the country at registermeats.com.
I have to tell my peeps down in Tampa State P to do the right thing.
He needs to have a promo code in case they beat Duke tonight. Ooh, I don't know what that would be, but it needs to be something.
Can you believe it? Exclamation point. I don't normally say that about Florida State at home against anybody. This is a really good Duke team. Like, objectively speaking, if you just looked at this team, you'd go, well, they're kind of fun to watch. They're awfully talented, and it's annoying because they do a lot of things well. But, hey, Florida State at the TLC-CC.
Hey, man, there have been worse FSU teams
that is correct.
To beat better Duke teams than this one.
Probably so.
That one, especially the Jason Williams, Mike Dunleavy back in the day.
Unreasonable.
That was
that game.
That was a crazy win. That's the most unpredictable win in Florida State history, probably.
Yeah, I was in shock.
That was a bad Florida State team.
Very bad.
And it was
an
awesome Duke team.
As the game went on, I kept going, this isn't going to happen. I was sitting with my buddy Matt Britton. I was like, this isn't going to happen. And it just kept happening.
Could the promo code be "Suck It, Coach K"?
Oh, I like that.
I don't know. That's a little disrespectful. On the way out? It's on his way out, man. He's always been pretty kind to Leonard, right?
He's
always been pretty kind to Leonard. He always says nice things about
time
Leonard.
When he acted like his life was in danger because the Noles.
Well, right. You got to get over grudges, but more often than not, he's been kind.
Post that moment, he has been better. It's like somewhere along the way he accepted it. I don't know if it was one too many losses on the road here at the TLC-CC where he finally had to be like, well, damn it, this guy's got something going on here, because he does respect the fact that playing here is difficult. He'll talk about it.
And he does respect Coach Hamilton, no question. But
suck it, Duke. We'll make it Duke. More general than just
straight at Duke.
Than a straight at Coach K, one of the fine gentlemen in all of sports.
How about some get you some? Because you can get you some register sausage.
Right.
And get you, yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
We'll get you some. Yeah, that's fine. If it happens tonight, it'll be very late.
Yeah.
We'll all be celebrating very, very late. The old 9 p.m. tip at the TLC-CC.
That's a bit of a dagger.
I do think
hurt your feelings a little bit.
I do think the styles accommodate Florida State pretty well because of the style of play. Duke, they're gonna extend so far defensively.
Yep.
Florida State's usually got really good athletes who can attack off the dribble. We've seen that time and time again. Defensively, Duke's usually got some really good bigs, but Florida State fronts the post so well and denies those passes into the post. So that's always a good matchup for Florida State.
Correct.
And then also, I think the way Florida State, the depth, Duke usually plays a lot of times 6-7 guys, and Florida State will play 10-11 guys. And I think we've been seeing that lately. FSU's depth has been taking its toll a little bit. I thought it was a factor against Miami. I thought it was a factor against Syracuse. And that sometimes becomes a factor against Duke as well. So there's some things that work in FSU's favor in this matchup.
I don't like to be cynical, but I would be very surprised if Florida State won this game. if Malik isn't, if he plays at all, he's not going to be 100%. He might not play. You don't match up. Usually Florida State does match up athletically with them. I don't know that that's the case this time around.
Well, but I mean, the bigs, everybody's talking about the bigs. How many bigs for Duke have gone off against Florida State?
No, I think their best player is the swing kid, though.
Sure.
He's not. I wouldn't call him a
he's
big,
gonna be
but
a problem.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm
and
saying,
then
but a lot of people are focused on the difference, what they have inside versus what Florida State has.
So Wendell Moore, Banchero are the two guys. They're
their big scorers.
That you really
they also
worry
have the
about.
shot blocker.
And
Yeah, and then that kid's they don't usually. He's like he's kind of like a Plumlee. Like he doesn't have to score a lot, but he can rebound and he blocks shots.
Well, what Ira was just talking about with Duke setting up, a lot of times they'll spread the court just for that entry pass to Williams, who's so big. And you saw him do it against Miami. And they lost that game against Miami. I mean, that's a guy that if he gets his position, you're not stopping him. We don't have really anybody that's going to stop him.
But traditionally, Florida State makes it really difficult
to do that.
because they do front the post and then they harass. They've got length on the perimeter that makes those entry passes harder. That's all I'm
Ask
saying.
Roy Williams about that. Remember how he bitched about it? That his young player was trying to
can't make that pass.
Like, we can't make the pass.
It's the
What do you
kid
want us
that's
to do?
really good for him now. Baycott.
Yeah.
He was like, swing it.
Yeah.
He's like,
we
can't swing it.
They
Dude.
won't let us
They
swing
won't let
it.
us swing it to the other side of the court.
It's too long. Yeah.
I'm not saying Florida State's going to win the game. I'm just saying that's why Florida State usually gives Duke a run for their money, no matter where the game is, and they've had really solid success against them at home.
Hey, so really quick, I had to do this for College Sportsbook. I got to talk to the great Adrian Crawford. It's you guys will get that later on today on YouTube. Go check it out. But I was looking at certain numbers from a sporting standpoint, but it also helps tell the story of the game. Banchero tonight, according to Prize Picks, 17.5. You going over or under that for Banchero?
I would probably say over.
Wendell Moore, 13.5. I went over on Wendell Moore.
I might
13.
go under on that.
Really?
Over.
Okay. And then Caleb Mills, I went over on the 12.5. If Florida State's going to win, he's got to score more than 12.
Yeah, I'd go over on that.
Yeah, I think so too.
He might rise to the moment.
Well, for the reasons that Ira gave too, you're going to get some one-on-ones up top, and he's a scorer. And he can finish with either hand. Yeah, I believe that. I went under on Malik Osborne, 10.5, just because of the ankle. I don't even know if he's going to play. Let's hope he plays. Speaking of which, that's something we should address right off the bat. In a big game like this, you're going to need him, ideally, to be able to play and defend. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday Leonard Hamilton was very doubtful that Malik would play, but he did say that they were going to get more final word later in the day. I mean, he's been in that boot since last week, and they basically shut him down because he was trying to play through a lingering ankle injury and it wasn't coming around. So they put him in a boot. He missed the last game. They were going to check him out later in the day. I mean, there's a chance he'll be able to play, but even if he can, your question is how effective he would be. But if he doesn't play,
that's a problem.
Yeah,
it's problematic.
I mean, we love the weatherman.
Yeah, and he was great in that game on Saturday, but Syracuse isn't quite the athletic roster that Duke presents.
Weatherman was great, and it was what a decision
on defense too, man. He really kind of locked it down on
8-9 minutes of the game out there.
He played the last 9 minutes
at center
on the road of an ACC game.
Yeah, and he played well.
Yeah, he did.
He could move better laterally than our other bigs. He also got to that ACC logo, which kind of opened the door for things offensively, and kind of carried the day. I'm curious, what led to that decision. We always talk about players, but we should talk about coaching there. That's great coaching. Understanding that the other guys weren't up to that challenge. It wasn't a good matchup, or a little green, whatever you want to call it. And knowing that, hey, I'm going to go to my walk-on in a big road game in the ACC. Dude, who pulls that trigger? Leonard did. And that turned out, and kudos to him and his coaching staff, because it led to a win.
Well, it was a perfect situation for him. And I think, Corey was touching on it briefly just there. Not only the fact that, your other bigs with Sonora and Gom out, and we don't know if he's going to be back anytime this season, but your other bigs, Quincy Ballard and
McLeod,
Naheem McLeod, are, they're very green. This is their first year. Well, Ballard's been in the system for over a year, but Naheem McLeod, this is his first year in the system, and they just don't know exactly. And what Florida State asks their bigs to do, especially defensively, is nothing they've ever done in their lives.
Yeah, you got to switch on everybody.
You're guarding point guards, you're guarding shooters. It's just such a new experience. Whereas Harrison Prieto's been in the system for 6 years. He knows exactly what to do. And Syracuse isn't a team that necessarily could exploit it the way maybe a Duke could.
And it's not like against Syracuse, you need a 6'11" kid to make sure Boeheim doesn't get a shot off. You just need somebody out there on him so he doesn't get the shot off. And Ballard, who's a much better athlete, just let Boeheim walk right into a three, didn't deny the pass, didn't get out on him. And immediately after Boeheim knocked down that three, I think to put him up by 3, or maybe put him up in the game. That's when Prieto came in, and the rest is history. I wanted to talk about the charge call.
I just was going to bring that up.
I've never been. We know college refereeing.
It's
we know
a hard task. They're not good at it, but it's a difficult job because a lot of calls are 50-50.
But they aren't. I promise you, block charges are 90-10 blocks. There are about 10% of charges that are actually called that are actually charges. So why is it always a 50-50 prop? In that particular call is so egregious, I want to know if he got suspended for it. It's an awful call.
Don't you feel like we do this every other basketball game?
This one was unique.
This one was incredible because it was in the open court.
Right. Sometimes you could say, okay, maybe they didn't have a good view of it, or
it's a help defender in half court stepping up.
This was unbelievable. I mean, the rule is verticality, and he was horizontally.
Correct.
I mean, he's running
off
with
the ground when he got
and he's
hit.
in the air. It's just insane. I mean, if you wanted to call it a no call because it's at home, I'd be like, all right, well, that's ridiculous, but okay, it's a no call. But to call a charge and wipe off the basket.
Yeah, it was a 5-point swing or a 3-point swing because that was going to, well, you probably missed the free throw, but that was 2 points you took off the board.
Right, you're up 5. You could be up 7 or 8.
No, I think you're up 7. That puts you up 9 or 10. I mean, it's just unbelievably a bad call.
And then my guy Boeheim's.
And how does Hamilton not get a T right? I would have. Remember when Boeheim, his first game at Cameron, where he stormed on the court and ripped off his shirt and all that? Yeah. I feel like I would have come really close if I was Leonard to do it.
If he had a better team, maybe he would.
They're fragile, and you got a chance to win a game.
Yeah.
You can't come unglued there. I mean, kudos to Leonard. I'm with you. A lot of times I see stuff in these games where I go, I don't know how he makes it. I mean, it's been a long time. You got to go back to Leonard ripping off his coat against Duke all those years ago. I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen him snap.
That's the one. That would have been
the
deserved snap. I mean, that was an all-time.
It would have warranted it.
Yes,
but the fact that he didn't do it was a good idea.
And again, if he had a more experienced team or a better team, maybe he would.
Yeah, Tony Douglas over there. He'd been like, all right, we can handle that.
I think that was impressive to me about this win was the fact that they withstood that, because right after that play, Syracuse takes the lead, and I'm thinking, okay, they're going to lose this game because of that ridiculous call. And then sure enough, man, they fought back. I mean, they've shown something these last few games.
I love the Cleveland dunk on the next time he got on the court. There was some anger in that dunk, rightfully so.
Yeah. 3 straight wins for a team that really looked like this could be a sub 500, maybe well below 500 group in the ACC this year. Doesn't mean that they're going to coast to the NCAA tournament, which, by the way, somebody's going to ask us. I already looked ahead at the questions about their ceiling. I'll just say this was a group that a couple weeks ago, we thought, can you make the tournament? It's a legitimate question whether or not this team can make the tournament.
Well, it still is.
Of course. But what I will say is if you do the look ahead, because you won those 3 games, you gave yourself the wiggle room that if you lose as an underdog, as you will be in these next two ACC games, this one and Miami, okay, no big deal. You'll be 500 in the ACC because you went ahead and took care of business.
I would say, though, that you don't get many chances, weirdly, this year in the ACC for a marquee win. There just aren't. I think Duke might be the only team ranked. I don't know that there's
Carolina's good, and
they might be ranked. Eventually.
They play Miami.
But that's at Carolina. You've got Duke at home, at Miami, at Carolina, at Duke. You've got about 3 or 4 chances to have a really impressive resume win. Other than that, it ain't a lot. Like Wake Forest at home doesn't move the needle. Virginia Tech at home doesn't get you in the tournament.
Yeah,
even stacking up wins. Yeah, Virginia's not a normal Virginia. This is one of your few opportunities because you didn't do well in the non-conference. This is one of your few opportunities to get a marquee win, because if you finish, 3-4 games over 500 in the ACC, that's not a guarantee like normal that you get into the tournament.
Right. Ordinarily it would be. Yeah. All I'm saying is that because you did beat Louisville, Miami, and Syracuse back to back,
you're in the running. Yeah.
Well, and you're 4th right now in the conference, 1 game back in the loss column from first place. So A, that's good from where they were. B, let's say you lose to Duke tonight. We're not assuming that, but you are underdogs. So then you got North Florida, got to win that game, obviously. But then it's Miami on the road. I'm going to suspect Miami will win that game. Not guaranteed.
How dare you?
But then, listen, it's Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Clemson, and Wake Forest and Pitt. You could easily, I won't say they will, but you could easily win every one of those games.
Go 4-1.
You are giving yourself a real opportunity here. It does get a lot easier after this little stretch between Duke and then Miami.
You're gonna have at some point to beat one of the big boys, I think, to get in. I don't know that those 5 games do enough for you.
But
Maybe they do.
As your point, though, there's not a lot of big boys to beat.
Yeah, I know. So you got to take advantage of the couple that you have. I don't know if 3 straight wins over Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, and Pitt are anywhere close to 1 win over Duke.
I guess it's going to come down to how many teams from the league get in.
I was going to say, how many teams will the league get in?
It's a 1-bid league right now, guys.
But
it's a 1-bid league. It's
it's
like the MAC.
You know better than that. But if Florida State were to, in conference, at that point, be 7-4 in the ACC, it's hard. Maybe I'm just having a more difficult time wrapping my mind around the idea that a team, let's say they rattle off those 3 wins in a row after these 2 against Duke and Miami, and I think they will if they're healthy. If you're 7-4 in the ACC coming down the home stretch, and I grant you got to go on the road at Duke. You're not going to win that game. You got to be at the Dean Center against North Carolina. Probably not going to win that game. But you could
He calls it the Dean Center. I like that.
Yeah.
Some call it the Dean Dome.
I don't. I call it the Dean Center.
Well, you show respect.
It's actually the official name.
Yeah. The Dean E. Smith Center.
That's correct.
Right.
It's the Dean Center.
Right.
I don't have to kowtow to the way they do things at UNC.
Yeah.
Man. Hillbillies. So Boston College, Virginia is there. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So for years and years and years, especially during Coach Hamilton's first 10, 12 years, Leonard's first 10, 12 years, we would lament when they were on the bubble and they didn't get the benefit of the doubt. And the Syracuse was get the benefit of the doubt.
But they would get the benefit of the doubt now.
That's what I'm asking is now is Florida State in a position where they get the benefit of the doubt?
Yeah.
3 straight Sweet 16s. If you haven't earned it by then, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah. A couple of those blowouts are a little rough to look at in hindsight, but I don't know that margin of loss comes into effect that much.
And do they consider the fact that you had a really young team and it's gotten better and better and better?
Let's hope they do.
Yeah.
I like going to March Madness. I think it's fun. I hope they have it all in one city again this year. That really was awesome. That was really neat.
Seminole headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Expensive timeshare contract and feel like there's no way out.
I'm almost at $10,000 in 4 years. I've never traveled anywhere.
They made this sound that this would be a really good deal, that I could go anywhere, anytime I wanted to. That never worked out.
I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO of Wesley Financial Group. I've helped thousands of people get rid of their timeshares. I know all the tricks because I'm embarrassed to say I once worked in the timeshare industry. We've saved suffering timeshare owners millions in debt and maintenance fees. When you're approved as a client, I guarantee you a 100% success rate. We'll get you out of your timeshare, eliminate your payments, and get them off of your back permanently.
I honestly would recommend that you call Wesley Financial. They will help you.
Call Wesley Financial Group now for your free information kit. If they can't get you out of your timeshare, you'll pay nothing. Call 800-600-9595. 800-600-9595. That's 800-600-9595.
Did you know metal roofs' survivability far exceeds that of traditional shingle roofs? It's time to consider a metal roof from Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee. We provide the best quality, least expensive material and accessories in the area, as well as material pickup and delivery. Our painted panels qualify for the City of Tallahassee's low-interest Energy Star loan program also. And don't forget about our veteran law enforcement discount. Give Metal Roofing Sales a call today at 536-9123, 536-9123.
If you weren't the owner of Gordo's and all those wonderful restaurants, Eddie, what would you be doing?
You know, I think I'd want to be I don't know what I'd want to be, a boat captain or a cowboy.
You know how to use a lasso?
No.
You'd have to do that if you were a cowboy.
Yeah, but I've never even been on a horse. It's not my place to be on a horse.
I agree. And the horse thanks you. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Every great construction project, whether it's a new addition or renovation, starts with a plan. At T-Spark, we are excited when our clients contact us to assist with that plan. Through our team of architects, draftsmen, engineers, we can help you with your project's planning and design, potentially saving costs in the long run. Whether you have a residential or commercial project, we look forward to working with you. Call us today or visit us at tsparkconstruction.com. License number CGC 1525336.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, or even with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Affordable term life insurance is out there. Call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-481-1458. 800-481-1458 or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish is
pretty bad. So we're using Babbel.
Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
We're back.
Yeah, good talk.
I was
Good talk.
going to give you an answer to that. So, by the way, somebody asked this, and it's pertinent because we've been talking about this in the past recently, in particular because of Marvin Jones. Seminole Moments asks on the chat, why are Warwick, Dunn, Winky, and Seabass not in the Hall of Fame, but CJ freaking Spiller is?
Good question.
So
yeah,
my question is, to follow up on that, and it's a real good question. There doesn't seem to be a rhyme
There's
or reason.
rhyme
to-
nor
no,
reason.
Nor reason.
Rhyme
I
nor
don't-
reason. No rhyme nor reason.
Like guys could wait 30 years who were two-time All-Americans and the best player in the country.
Yeah, it would make more sense
Another
if
guy,
you were going
you know-
year by year, like they do in every other sport. Because if Marvin Jones is just now getting in, you think his class would include like Ty Detmer and David Klingler and guys.
The other guys from the era.
Yeah, but yeah, it's for CJ Spiller to be in, who played in like 08,
I
right?
was going to say, didn't he play last year?
Yeah, he
It
played.
feels like CJ Spiller
He
just
was
played.
12 years after work done is bizarre, and you can't say that CJ Spiller was obviously a better player, had a better career. So who knows? They'll all get in eventually. You would have to think, but I don't know if like you only want to take one player from a school every couple of years to spread it out to other universities. I don't know.
Would a rhyme help if you called the college football hall guy and said, or woman,
And I
and said,
have a
"What's going
rhyme?
on?"
You have a
No,
rhyme?
if you called and said, what's going on? Why is Warwick Dunn not in the Hall of Fame? And she or he gave you a rhyme,
Like a
but
poem.
not a reason. But
Not a
just-
reason, just a rhyme.
Would a rhyme
what
help?
a dumb saying.
So if she suddenly went hickory dickory dock, you'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, here it comes.
Here it comes.
Here
There
we
is a
go.
rhyme.
There is a rhyme,
Yeah.
not really a reason.
Right.
The Austin put together, who worked for us, put together a nice story and list and a poll of which Florida State players are most deserving to be in the Hall of Fame next after Marvin Jones. And the voters went with Warwick Dunn. I think Mickey Andrews got a lot of votes.
Yeah,
which I
Tim
know
Mickey would have been high on the
you guys
list.
would support as
Peter
well.
Warwick, Janikowski.
Lee Corso got some.
Yeah, Lee Corso. I saw that initially. I'm like, I don't know about Lee Corso.
But it's a lifetime achievement.
But it's also he has like Vitale's in the Basketball Hall of Fame, right? Or should
He
be.
is a
I hope he
contributor,
is.
yeah.
Yeah. And so Corso could get in as a contributor even more than what he did as a player, because he has been on that show
Or a
for
coach.
Or a
30
coach, yeah.
for 30 years. But yeah, I would say both Warwicks and Winky. Winky won the flipping Heisman and a
And the
national championship.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that deserves some recognition. So they'll all get in eventually. Yeah, you would think by the end of it there'll be what 15
The thing
dynasty
is,
guys.
I mean, college football.
Wadsworth, Bulware.
I mean, there's so many teams and so many great players.
Yeah.
Like they just put 30 in every year.
Thank you.
Like,
You don't have to be really selective
yeah.
like you are in the Pro Football Hall
Yeah.
of Fame. It's not the Hall of Good. I get it in the Pro Football
Like
Hall of
who's
Fame.
going to
You gotta
argue?
really look? Yeah.
Like Katzenmoyer. Really? How are you
Yeah.
throwing him into the Hall of Fame? That doesn't make. I mean, of course, just get him in.
Diehard college football fans, you wouldn't need quote unquote experts. You'd need somebody to be able to prove their worth as a college football fan. But I'm telling you, as the three of us, and we could grab 10 people whom we know that love the sport and have been watching since they were young. And you could sit them down and say, all right, we're going to give you a pool of players of guys that played post 1984 on.
Yeah.
We would be able, I think, as well as anybody to go, he is, he isn't, he definitely is, he isn't. You could just do it all in one day. You could have
Just knock it out.
197 guys from 84 to 94, and then we could go on to the next.
Yeah.
And be like, yep, he's in, he's definitely not. How is he not in? You would be shocked how many of those guys from that era, 84, say to 2000, that are not in.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Miami has the same issue.
Yeah,
Like they
it's
got
weird.
plenty of dudes that aren't in yet, and they had, as you guys might remember, they had some good players during that stretch as well.
Few, probably, less than they think.
Hey, how about Rock on on
Peyton
the
and Eli?
Peyton and Eli thing last night, talking about sacking Charlie Ward.
Yeah, I didn't watch.
He brings that up all the time.
Well, they brought it up to him, but
yeah.
he might have told them ahead of time, hey, bring up the fact that I sacked Charlie Ward.
He brings it up when he used to bring it up when he wrestled, and he
Yes,
came here.
exactly.
You bring it up at the arena, which is funny. He's also in the video of which we showed earlier this year. It was
Pick 6 with Devin Bush.
Yeah.
These NFL playoffs have been great, man. We've just been soaking them up.
First round's a toughie. Although I did thoroughly enjoy the Raiders game against Cincinnati, and I enjoyed because I went undefeated over the weekend, guys, on a money line parlay for every game.
Wow.
It'd been a lot to me to watch those results.
Good for you.
Felt really good. Felt really good. Those were easy.
Yeah, weren't
to
a lot
pick.
of surprises.
I was going to say you picked every favorite.
I took San Francisco to win on the road.
All right, so that was the one.
But
so that got a little dicey there at the end. I love that.
Little dicey.
I almost wrote a column. I can't get over the ineptitude of football coaches in late game situations.
Sure.
It makes no sense.
No.
If you've got the ball at the 40-yard line with 14 seconds left, is your better chance to score throwing it twice into the end zone?
Or maybe even 3 times, depending.
Sure. Or doing a scramble to get to the 25 to then
spike,
ostensibly throw a Hail Mary into the end zone.
Yeah, right.
It's not like you get to the 25 and all of a sudden the whole playbook opens up. You're running 5 verticals no matter what. And in fact, I almost called him a bad name, and I don't even care. I don't care about the Cowboys. McCarthy afterwards is like, hey, we're running 5 verticals anyway. What difference is it? And it's like, yeah, exactly. So why don't you run 5 verticals? But he was defending the play call. Like, oh, it makes perfect sense. We're running 5 verticals. You'd rather be at the 25. Like, no, not really. Not really. You're just throwing it up there.
Well, I mean, you would
ask
rather.
Jacksonville
Technically,
State.
you would rather. But
what
I
are the
understand.
chances?
Of course, your reasoning is right in that you wouldn't run
it
14
becomes
yards.
more of a real play
Yeah.
at 25 yards than it would be.
But moreover,
50.
your quarterback didn't understand the
He
rules.
just slid
More
way too
importantly,
late,
by
and
the
then,
way.
and then they didn't get lined up quickly.
It's a pretty
They're all
good
just-
shot by that referee, too. I need my quarterback to be able. That was like Ponder getting hit by Ty Jones. Like, don't get knocked off the ball that much.
I need my quarterback to understand you're not allowed to just hand the ball to your center and have him spotted. It doesn't work that way, dumbass.
It was, but also when you watch the replay, none of the Cowboys, a couple of Cowboys were just kind of not running up. It's like they hadn't even practiced that. Just tell your guys to run in the end zone, throw it up there twice. You might get a pass interference.
Well, how about if you're not, 14 penalties and you were second in the league all year long in penalties? I mean, that's what they did.
And you weren't ready to play.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're down 10-0 before you knew it.
Yeah.
You're down
Not that we
6-0.
feel sorry for the Cowboys.
But their defense was ridiculous in the first couple drives. I mean, it was ridiculous.
They weren't ready.
They weren't even out there.
Well, that goes back to McCarthy.
And the other big story from a Florida State perspective is, number one, it is incredible that Cam Akers looks like that after the injury he suffered.
How's it even possible?
And it is awful bad luck. Cam Akers isn't a big S talker, I don't think. For him to do the celebration as the guy is knocked out is just bad luck. He clearly didn't know, and he said as much as after the game, as we all did, that he hadn't knocked that guy out.
Buda Baker was knocked out.
When does a DB get ever knocked out in a situation like that? And Buda Baker's awesome.
He's a good player.
So it's just it was really bad luck, bad luck and a bad look for a guy that didn't know that he had knocked a guy literally out. He was unconscious. His arms had lifted up.
It's uncomfortable to watch, isn't it? Every
It
time you
really
see
is. Yeah.
That's part of the game.
It was a heck of a hit, though, man. Good night.
Those things that's how it always is. Because if somebody, DB gets a hit and he stands over a guy, that's what they do. But when it turns out the guy's really hurt, it looks
like,
awful.
oops.
But think about the mindset, and I saw it on Twitter. I know it's reactionary on Twitter, but the mindset of people to immediately jump to Cam Akers celebrating a guy being perhaps paralyzed or at worst knocked out and leaving. It's like, come on, man.
It's one of the things you
think
don't
about,
do, which is to say you don't check Twitter.
Well, you're not. Well,
during a game.
I thought you were going to say,
No,
I thought you were going to say don't celebrate.
Just don't check Twitter.
Right.
It's okay.
I mean, it'd make him a sociopath to be like, yeah, you're too small. Enjoy that ambulance ride. He would. I mean, of course he wouldn't do that. That's nuts. But people think that.
Although it'd be a hell of a thing to say.
Yeah.
If anybody doubts, I mean, I've heard that they actually know each other and like each other, and I mean, it was not
football,
at all,
man.
that.
It's just
football.
unlucky. I'm lowering my shoulder. Your helmet, my helmet collide, and
I mean, didn't Parrish get sent? Roscoe Parrish had to go to the hospital after that game, right?
Yeah.
And Stanford Samuels got up and celebrated that.
No,
I
he didn't
imagine.
get up and no, he
no,
laid
that's
there.
right. He
laid there.
He took
was
the
hurt,
brunt of it
man.
too.
That was tough. That's actually not a good hit. I mean, it's a great hit to watch over
Right.
and over again. But that's kind of the helmet to the. They both were hurt there. That said, I can tell you that none of these guys, very rarely, unless you're Bill Romanowski or some dumbass like that, it is very rare that any player goes in to hit another player with the idea, I'm going to hurt this guy. You don't have enough time.
Yeah, in a running back especially.
You just don't have enough time. It's so fast, and you're just trying to win leverage. You got to get a guy to the ground. You're not thinking like, if I can hit him in this way, then maybe he'll be hurt. Wouldn't that be? Nobody does that. Doesn't happen. Seminole headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Local news now.
The U.S. Coast Guard rescued 2 men on Saturday from a sailboat caught in stormy seas about 57 miles away from Apalachicola. The men rescued were 72-year-old Richard Moore and 77-year-old John Ulrich. There were reports of 34-mile-per-hour winds and 10-foot seas. Rescue crews used an MH-60 Jayhawk helicopter to hoist the 2 men out of the water. Moore and Ulrich were taken to Air Station Clearwater safely and with no medical concerns. The sailboat washed up in Franklin County. The Franklin County Sheriff's Office posted on Facebook about the breached boat, saying the owner was making arrangements to have it removed. Jackson Hospital in Marietta fended off a ransomware attack earlier this month. IT personnel noticed a problem Sunday, January 9th. They couldn't connect to the system doctors used to look up a patient's medical history. The hospital's IT director realized it was infected with ransomware, and the hospital was able to shut down the system before the virus spread throughout the entire hospital. It has not been determined whether hackers had stolen any data. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. High 58 this afternoon. Under sunny skies, northeast winds around 5 miles per hour. Partly cloudy tonight, lows level off around 33. Highs level off around 65 tomorrow. Mainly sunny skies. Upper 60s Thursday with a chance for scattered rain showers. Much cooler Friday with highs in the mid 50s. Showers continue. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 54.
Are you stumped on who to call for fast and affordable crane and tree service? Deep South Tree Service is a cut above the rest. Call Rob for a free quote today. 877-TREE. Deep South Tree Service. Our roots run deep.
Just ask your doctor. The vaccines are our best defense against COVID. If you're 12 or older and you've already gotten yours, now you can give yourself a boost with a COVID booster. It makes the protection you already have even stronger. We can do this. Find boosters near you at vaccines.gov, paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Here's what you missed on the Greg Tish Show.
A woman only identified as Mrs. Wong posted on Chinese social media she had gotten locked down after a first blind date. She discovered that their date's community had gone into swift lockdown after visiting his house for a meal.
This absolutely has to become a romantic comedy. Lockdown Love. He was looking for Mrs. Right, but he found Mrs. Wong.
Lockdown. Starring Matthew McConaughey. All right.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3.
Seminole Headlines is brought to you by Register Sausage, serving the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. To find a store near you or to buy directly from Registers, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Some Florida State football news for you. Let's start with a transfer. Trey Benson, running back out of Oregon. He committed to Oregon back in 2019, signed with them then, enrolled in 2020, is now here in Tallahassee. Trey Benson is a running back who's 6'1", 203, 204, depending on where you look.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I think that's about right. But yeah, he's a guy who was, well thought of coming out of high school. I'm pretty sure Mike Norvell was recruiting him coming out of high school, and FSU's coaches really liked him. He went to Oregon, blew out his knee, had a really bad, I think ACL, MCL, and maybe some other damage. Nothing like permanent, no nerve damage or anything like that.
That explains the 2-year window.
But but they came back last year and only carried the ball 6 or 7 times. Didn't get a lot of at bats. They had a good running back situation last year, so he didn't get a lot of action. But I think Florida State clearly made him a priority when he went in the transfer portal, and so now you add another back to go. Basically, to replace Jay Sean Corbin. I don't know if they believe he could be a Jay Sean Corbin running back or if he's just another guy in that room. But he's
so is that number 10? Number 10 on the number 10 on the
overall.
portal.
Yeah. In the running back room.
Yeah,
no, he's not a tight end.
10 on the portal. All right, here we go. In addition to that, if you go over to warchant.com, you can check out the story as posted by Aslan. Oregon wide receiver Micah Pittman, Albany defensive lineman Jared Verse, and of course West Virginia wide receiver Winston Wright Jr. all spoke to the media today. Impressions?
Yeah, I was just telling you guys off there, like it's interesting to note the difference between Pittman and Wright. Maybe you could tell that just Pittman comes from an NFL family. He's I don't know. I don't want to say self-aggrandizing. He knows how to talk the game.
He said he's got a big personality.
Yeah, he's got a very big personality. You can tell he probably enjoys doing media.
He and his girlfriend had a YouTube channel.
Oh, well, there you go. So he enjoys the attention. Meanwhile, my man from South Georgia that went up to the coal mining state just goes out there and plays football and doesn't really have time for much of the talking, which is great, man. Go out there and make plays. It's fine.
Yeah, Winston Wright was not quite as talkative. He was nice enough.
Yeah, sure.
You know, he would answer a question in like 7 or 8 words and be ready for the next question.
Ready to move on.
Micah Pittman's giving you a really detailed answer. You know, seems a little bit, you know, he went to high school in California, kind of comes off kind of like Cam McDonald, one of those guys that, you know, kind of likes the attention and all that kind of thing. And then Jared Verse is the defensive end who
we're all excited about.
Yes. I mean, his numbers last year are kind of crazy.
Yeah.
In one season, he had 53 tackles for a defensive end, 53 tackles, 10.5 sacks.
And like 21 tackles for loss or something nuts.
I think over the 2 years. I think So he's
and you and I talked about when it happened a week ago, Ira. We were talking about the maturity in his comments. Right. I mean, they really, you get excited about the way he views the work that he has to put in, his role as a player, what he wants to do for the team, that kind of stuff. And it was a little bit more nuanced than just your standard, I want to do whatever they asked me to do. It was awesome. He talked about growing as a man and everything else and why he chose. It gave insight into, again, why this group has done a really good job. Not only is it a necessity that they do a good job in the transfer portal as they fill holes on the roster, but also how they connect with these guys and how they're first to reach out to them and why those guys are interested because they've had a lot of successes.
Yeah. The one today, though, is the Benson kid is an interesting one. Like all these the first 9, it feels like, had all proven themselves at a high major level, except for
Johnny Wilson.
Johnny Wilson at least played in a bunch of games and had 18 catches, and Bless Harris played at Lamar. Yeah, Deuce hadn't either. But that was in a position where you have 3 other guys. Running back is a position of need. Like you got to have some depth there. We don't know if I guess DJ Williams is sticking around. Who knows? But you have Trayshawn Ward and then Toafili, and that's it really from a proven standpoint. And this guy had 6 carries this past year, so it's interesting. Like I'm sure they could have. There's dozens of running backs around the country that would have come to Florida State. What they saw in this kid, even coming off a major knee injury, that made them believe that he was ready to contribute come the Superdome.
Yeah, I think to me, the 2 things that I think you'd have to hang your hat on to help explain it, since we haven't talked to Mike Norvell about it yet, he won't be able to talk about him until he's officially enrolled. But, you know, one thing is the fact that they did recruit him. They were aware of him coming out of high school. Yeah. So they knew the kid he was 2 years ago.
Knew the skill set. Yeah.
Plus the fact that, you know, Mike Norvell's close with Dan Lanning, who was their defensive coordinator, who saw him every day for the last 2 years. So my guess is they've gotten information back and he's fine. He's the guy you thought he was. He's going to be really good. He just didn't have any opportunities. I mean, I think that's what you have to assume is happening because, like you
Dan
said,
Lanning was at Georgia. He wasn't at Oregon.
Oh, excuse me. You're right. No, you're right. That's a good point. It's actually a great point.
Well, you had a bad point. I just called you on it.
But
he had a good point right before it.
Right.
It was that they recruited him.
Yeah, he did get there, and he got there before Benson went in the portal, and Kenny Dillingham is there. So they've both been there. They can ask around, hey, is this kid healthy?
Also, Pittman.
Yeah, for sure.
Pittman was the teammate with them too. So a lot of the Oregon Tallahassee pipeline is going back and forth too.
But that's my point. It's not like they're going blind into it.
Yeah.
And that would explain why you're not going after some of these other guys who maybe have 150 carries somewhere else.
Right.
I think they really like this guy. Now, whether or not he can be a feature back, I don't know.
Well, and he comes in, you probably weren't going to get a 5-star guy that ran for 1,000 yards. I mean, that wasn't on the table. But you have a guy that at worst is adding depth, right? And is a bigger body.
Speaking of adding depth, is there any word? Do we have any insight as to whether or not they will add depth at quarterback?
I think they will. I just don't think it's a rush.
Yeah.
But I think they will. And then once you couldn't get somebody for the spring semester, you know, I don't know. And you know, maybe they could still sneak somebody in for the spring semester, but spring semester's already been going on. So my guess is it's not that important. Maybe you can get a guy who loses a spring battle, you know, after the spring.
That's what I was thinking is now it's probably the timetable is after spring practices when a guy sees the writing on the wall.
The last thing I wanted to say though, before I start talking about Dan Lanning at Oregon, was that
what a great team he put together this year out there.
Nice work out there, Dan. Was that talking about Verse, and you can watch all those interviews at warchant.com. We've got them all up on the YouTube channel. But Verse also, that maturity came across today as well. I thought one of the coolest things he said, and he's hinted at it before, was, just talking about that conversation he had with Jermaine Johnson and how Jermaine Johnson told him not just the good things about Florida State, but also some of the bad things he didn't like about Florida State. And he was impressed that they would let somebody like that talk to him openly, and that the kid would talk to him openly. And that kind of was a factor as well.
And then
Do
hopefully
you think morning practices was one of the bad things?
would be number one on your
Yes.
list. I got to wonder too. I mean, Jermaine was a picture perfect transfer portal, as it turned out.
Right.
I mean, he turned out to be the best player defensively in the ACC. Above and beyond almost anything else, he did everything right. Work ethic, preparation, everything he said. He recruited after he left, these guys. You would think that Mike Norvell and staff would sit down and also listen to that concern, whatever it was that he didn't
good
like,
point.
right?
Like what he didn't like.
Because he's not a guy that's a malcontent who really never bought in. He's a guy that did everything right.
And he's been on the whole spectrum. He's been at JUCO, at that crazy place,
Georgia,
the Last Chance U, and then he was at Georgia, and then Florida State. Yeah,
so if he's going to champion Florida State despite having some criticisms and no perfect places, I think you would sit down and be like, okay, well, let's talk about that. What is that? And you're always doing self-scouting. That's another avenue by which you could learn about how things get better.
And another thing that people would be interested in, go watch the videos, but Pittman and Wright both talked about returning kicks, which Pittman said he's never dropped a punt. Said he's never dropped a punt.
Don't do that.
Hey, I like that he put it out there.
Well, that's great.
Same thing.
Don't do it.
I like that he put it out there. Like I've never dropped a punt. It sounded like he was saying going back to his like Pop Warner days. But he has been returning punts.
He should have been like, yeah, man, I saw that Florida game. What the hell was?
Yeah, what's that guy's name? What's 80's name? Was he still on the team?
Remember, and we talked about it. The Florida guy was distracted and angry that he couldn't return a punt, and he caught it like this. He's like talking to somebody as he catches it in the air.
Like ordering lunch.
And he throws it to the officials. Like, that's really insulting, man.
Yeah.
You really got to do that? I mean, my man's frustrated. They didn't block it up in front of him. He's like yelling at somebody. The ball's coming right at him. He's like, no.
Yeah, all right,
Listen,
all right,
guys, let's do this next time.
Did you just see what our guy did?
Yeah, our guy's just over here. No chance in hell.
So that was good. Pittman will be they'll both be in the battle to return kicks, but it's good to know you have some guys with some history doing it and want to do it.
Yeah, and Wright has returned a couple of touchdowns, kicks. And Pittman's more of a punt return guy, but and he also was quick to say that I know I'm gonna have to compete for the job, and it's like, no, man,
it's not gonna be. Hopefully, it won't be. I can't imagine it's to be much of a competition. But and then going back to the Jermaine Johnson, it's like again, that guy just keeps producing good things for Florida State.
It's silly how on high he will be held, and it's
for
deserved
1 year,
for one season.
Yeah.
It's crazy,
especially if Burse turns into something that we think he can be. And Jermaine Johnson, who Burse talked about today, was pivotal in him deciding to come to Florida State. And also shout out for Papuchis. Took a lot of grief, rightly so,
understandably,
with
in one aspect
with the special teams, but he's also the defensive ends coach. And when I think it was you, Ira, that asked him, who knows, but about why he chose Florida State, or one of the reasons he chose Florida State, he said Coach Norvell and Coach Papuchis, or he said Coach JP. But I call him Papuchis.
Yeah,
they're not.
Everybody else says Coach JP,
but not me. I go.
Corey
formal.
walks into the interview room. What's up, Papuchis?
Papuchis in the house.
Everybody gets a little uncomfortable, but it's just understood.
So that was good. That's got to be good for Coach JP to see that his name gets mentioned as a reason that somebody came, because it was not mentioned in the best of light through a lot of the fall.
Shout out to you, Coach JP. Seminole Headlines continues in a moment. I'm getting us to the questions, guys. We're almost there. Hang in there. Seminole Headlines on 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
This is an insurance market alert from Barbara at Faircloth Insurance in Tallahassee. A few months ago, I asked you to contact your legislators to help stop the skyrocketing property insurance rates in Florida. Other states average 2 lawsuits per day on property insurance claims. Florida has 384 per day. The property owners of Florida are being taken advantage of, but it is not by the insurance companies. The companies are paying out 10 times the cost of a claim or more that would have been paid anyway. People are canvassing neighborhoods, knocking on doors, suggesting that the property owner may have some damage. The property owner innocently signs something that turns all control of any claim settlement to an attorney that becomes the person designated to get the claim check and who controls the disbursement of the claim payment. If we want these rates to go down, we must reach out to our legislators and let them know how unaffordable home insurance has become, and that we want them to support reform that will fix the issues. This has been an insurance market alert from Barbara at Faircloth Insurance in Tallahassee.
Hey, Jim. Thanks for coming.
Are you kidding? I never miss one of your dinner parties. How's the new job?
We're growing fast. And I stopped working weekends, thanks to how much smoother everything runs on NetSuite by Oracle.
Fantastic. We're still using QuickBooks.
Why haven't you upgraded to NetSuite?
We're making QuickBooks work, sort of.
Shh, watch your language. The kids are right there. Sorry, Amy. NetSuite gives you visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, planning, budgeting, and more. NetSuite is everything you need to grow, all in one place. And 93% of surveyed businesses increase their visibility and control since upgrading from QuickBooks to NetSuite.
Yeah, sounds like it's time for me to switch to NetSuite. Over 27,000 businesses already use NetSuite. For the new year, NetSuite has a new financing program for those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/advantage. Head to netsuite.com/advantage for this special one-of-a-kind financing offer on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. netsuite.com/advantage.
Our friends at ISF want to wish you a very happy new year. Listen, you want to do amazing things. You have big visions and goals for the future, and you work hard to move your agency forward while navigating the unique challenges inherent in government operations. ISF understands. They're a national management and IT consulting firm serving clients across the country. As we turn the page to another year, ISF reminds you to think big and stay focused on your goals for the future. ISF, your vision, our expertise, solving the future. Visit ISF.com to learn more.
Many orthodontists in Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. The experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of the latest techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have a more complicated case requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last a lifetime.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Brian, yes, I'm sure they're doing their due diligence. He's asking the coaching staff to be sure that they're careful with guys who've had prior injuries. Yeah. It's been a couple of years, though. That's the other thing. It was 2019.
Right. Yeah, from our understanding, it wasn't a injury like a Mackenzie Milton thing where there's other damage beyond the normal ACL, MCL stuff.
It's concerning that he only had 6 carries, though, clearly. But I was going to ask, wasn't he here on a visit here recently?
Yeah, he was here yesterday.
Do they have him do, and I'm not being facetious, do they have him do jumping jacks and like sprints,
the combine
stops? Yeah.
I believe.
Get up there on that knee. Let's see what we got going.
I know when Mackenzie signed, I know that they had already looked over his medical stuff. So my guess is that they get a report or something from a trainer at the other school, or maybe they actually get the x-rays. I don't know the process. I don't know that you can bring him in and make him go through a workout. I don't know.
We don't have to make him. You're showing him the field. Hey, look, this is Bobby Bowden Field.
See how fast you can run down it.
How fast can you get to that midfield stripe?
Let's go. I'm going to stand right around the 40-ish.
Yeah, I'm going to stand.
Let's see where you go to the goal line.
I'm going to say go. And don't look at my hand. I might have some in my hand, but I want to see how you look, man.
I will say this. It is remarkable. You brought up Cam Akers earlier. I want to bring this point up. It doesn't appear, short of a limb being amputated, there is such a thing as a season-ending injury anymore. It is the progress made in medical science, the ability, if you work hard and you have the kind of toughness and work ethic that Cam Akers does, and you're a gym rat.
That was an Achilles, right?
It was an Achilles. 5.5 months from an Achilles. It doesn't make any sense. You ought not be able to.
Kobe was out for like a year and a half.
Well, most people with an Achilles, it's a very serious deal.
But the point is, Kobe was, I feel like he's a pretty hard worker. Yeah. And that wasn't that long. It was like 12 years ago that happened, right? Or maybe 10 years ago. And they made so much strides in the last 10 years that
it's silly. I've had so many friends with ACLs. One of them was William Floyd. His career was ruined to an ACL in the NFL. I mean, he was well on his way to being a multi-time Pro Bowler. And I remember when it happened. And back then, if you talk to a guy, and I did talk to him, they would tell you it was going to be a year, maybe 2. But then you had the mental scarring. You had all this stuff. Guys, a lot of times never return. I mean, we think back in ancient history, Gale Sayers, 7 years, and that was the end of his career with an ACL. But like nowadays, guys get ACLs and can return same season. I'd never thought we'd see somebody.
Well, Florida State pulled the offer from who's that? Lance Harbor, the quarterback from Varsity Blues. He tore his ACL, and then Florida State pulled the offer. He didn't get to play anymore. He's a quarterback. He'll be fine.
ACLs, I mean, no longer really prohibited for anybody. So I guess my point is, if you work really hard and you're in great shape and you want to get back and you're desperate to get back, they'll be able to get you back pretty quickly. So most of the time, unless it's a catastrophic injury like Mackenzie Milton had, to your point, you trust a couple years removed from it, you'll be all right.
Yeah, and like I said, they apparently really liked him 2 years ago. So it wouldn't be any different than if he, if this was this past year was his first year and he redshirted, because the first year he was just totally out.
Right.
So, they liked him coming out of high school. They like him now.
Any other players this week? Anybody else visiting?
Well, we're actually getting 3 more players we're going to talk to tomorrow. We're going to talk to a couple. I think the offensive linemen who transferred in will be interviewing them on Thursday.
The Lyles kid from Wisconsin?
Not tomorrow. It'll be Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that kid, from what I'm told, and then if you go back and look when he did play and he has plenty of game film, I mean, we think he's going to be a starter somewhere.
Right, for sure.
I think he's a starter
Center
somewhere on
guard.
that. Yeah, center or guard, right.
That's going to be, this spring's going to be interesting position battles on the offensive line, because they have just about everybody back, but then you bring in a couple of transfers.
Bless Harris.
Bless Harris
will fight for position. I think he's probably a backup.
You're going to have 8 or 9 guys, and this goes for wide receiver too, but you're going to have 8 or 9 guys that have played and started that are competing for 5 spots. And you know what that does? It's going to make them all sharper.
Because iron sharpens iron.
I mean, I'm glad that's starting to take off finally, but I've
seen a shirt made yet?
No, I haven't, and I should.
You could be
all I did was
the hell out of this.
the Maryland is going to be a problem shirt. I need for the next headlines get together. I'll have iron sharpens iron. Corey Clark, circa what was that, like 2015, 2016? When did I coin
sharpens
that?
Iron. It wasn't long after the famed Maryland's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I think it was a couple
about
years
year
after
later.
that.
You redeemed yourself.
Yeah, but what a.
I just wish I could be in the room with the people who are sitting there right now thinking, Corey Clark really thinks he came up with iron.
What's crazy about that is, like, if you watch this show for any length of time, I feel like my sarcasm drips off out of my mouth.
But people who don't get sarcasm don't get sarcasm. You understand that, right? It never comes around.
But
they're never going to get it.
Ever, right?
No, ever. I have same guys email me all the time about my sarcasm because they think everything I say is literal.
Yeah.
So it's just dumb people are dumb, man. It's just not going to come around.
So, hey, sorry, dumb people, but I did say it in 2015, and there's no recorded.
Nobody
there's
ever
no
said it
recorded
previous,
dominant
ever.
of anybody saying it before that
Nobody.
or writing it down.
Other than maybe the Bible.
But but again, it's not in direct quotes. You actually said it. That's not a.
It was an original thought,
right? Of course it was.
Yeah, you just plucked it out of thin air.
It just made sense
when you
at
think
the
about
time.
things that make each other better. What would that be like? Iron does sharpen iron.
Iron sharpens iron. It makes
Has
the iron
anybody
stronger.
ever posited
iron.
that before?
You just take two iron
skillets,
right? Just rubbing it.
Just rub the skillets
all
together.
day.
And just flames going out, and both skillets get stronger.
Oddly, this reminds me of the fact that I actually would love to be able to be a melder of sorts.
Or blacksmith.
Blacksmith would kind of, yeah, I'd like to do that.
Like flash dance?
No.
Was she a welder?
She was, but I called her a melder, didn't I?
Yeah,
it's a welder. It's not a melder at all. I'd like to meld things together. It's a welder. Yeah, I'd like to be a welder.
That'd be cool, man.
I used to think welding would be really cool. I still do.
You like shirtless with just the mask down?
Maybe
and
about 10 years
glistening
ago, we could do
and
that.
the
Yeah,
flame
I don't,
going.
you're going into another area here.
Well, I'm just saying.
Apparently, you've pictured me welding before. I'm
melding. Picture you melding a lot.
It's all about sharpening your iron.
Hey, Ira.
What?
It's a family
What?
show.
I'm just saying. You were
It's a
talking about
family show, dude.
We've
That's not
gone
right.
off the
That's
rails.
not right.
Off the rails. Early music for you, Matthew. Early music, and then I'll get to headliner questions
where he's cooling off
from you guys.
Yeah, just
Pour it over
just
your head.
the mere mentioning
Like
of a
flash dance.
welding moment. He's like, really, please make it happen. I never knew it was true. Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio. Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. The experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of the latest techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have a more complicated case requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last a lifetime.
This is an insurance market alert from Barbara at Faircloth Insurance in Tallahassee. A few months ago, I asked you to contact your legislators to help stop the skyrocketing property insurance rates in Florida. Other states average 2 lawsuits per day on property insurance claims. Florida has 384 per day. The property owners of Florida are being taken advantage of, but it is not by the insurance companies. The companies are paying out 10 times the cost of a claim or more that would have been paid anyway. People are canvassing neighborhoods, knocking on doors, suggesting that the property owner may have some damage. The property owner innocently signs something that turns all control of any claim settlement to an attorney that becomes the person designated to get the claim check and who controls the disbursement of the claim payment. If we want these rates to go down, we must reach out to our legislators and let them know how unaffordable home insurance has become and that we want them to support reform that will fix the issues. This has been an insurance market alert from Barbara at Faircloth Insurance in Tallahassee.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show, live and local on Real Talk 93.3, WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Vice President Kamala Harris has used the issue of race to demand the Senate pass 2 controversial voting rights bills. Bob Agnew reports.
Harris took the occasion of Martin Luther King Jr. Day to call on the Senate to, in her words, do its job and pass voting legislation GOP critics say is aimed at stacking the deck in favor of Democrats in future elections. Harris insisted minority voting rights are under assault because of voter integrity laws passed in several GOP-run states, including Georgia. Unable to muster needed support from within his own party to end the Senate filibuster, Majority Leader Charles Schumer is expected to lack the needed support when he brings the bills up for a vote later today. Bob Agnew reporting.
Also at townhall.com, Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov says Moscow is not threatening anybody with anything, as tensions remain following inconclusive international talks.
Lavrov criticizes the US and NATO following recent separate meetings for showing what he describes as an obvious double standard. Lavrov explained that negotiations cannot accept any demands regarding the actions of Russia's armed forces on our own land. Washington and its allies firmly rejected Moscow's demands during last week's set of talks, which were held as an estimated 100,000 Russian troops massed near Ukraine in what the West fears might be a prelude to an invasion. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
He had been heading for months, but former New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio will not run for governor. De Blasio ending months of speculation by announcing he would not enter the Democratic primary, in which Governor Kathy Hochul already has a commanding start. Stocks remain sharply lower now. The Dow off 485 points. The Nasdaq is down 320. More at townhall.com.
So I invested in one of those fancy new exercise bikes. Without a doubt, a very special tool to help me get healthier. The problem is 3 days go by, then 4, and I've done nothing. And then it's night 5, and I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and I look down at myself, and I can't help but just laugh. Because there I am wearing the exercise t-shirt that came with the bike, and I'm eating 2 corn dogs. And I think we'd all agree the special tool only matters if we use it to our benefit. At United Faith Mortgage, we believe we have an advantageous tool for you. Our mortgage team is an arm of a bigger company who is a direct lender, which means our company gets to use its own money and make its own decisions. There's no middleman. And often, this allows us to get you a better rate on your refinance or new home purchase, which can save you monthly and lifelong money. We are United Faith Mortgage.
United Faith Mortgage is a DBA of United Mortgage Corp. 25 Middle Park Road, Melville, New York. Licensed mortgage banker. For all licensing information, go to NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Corporate NMLS number 1330. Equal housing lender. License in Alaska, Hawaii, Georgia, Massachusetts, North Dakota, South Dakota, or Utah.
Hi, I'm Jeff, founder of Which Superior Sandwiches, and I'm here to tell you about our signature witch, the Wicked. Why call it the Wicked? Some say it's wicked tasty, some say it's wicked large. One thing's for sure, with oven-roasted turkey, ham, pepperoni, roast beef, and bacon, as well as your choice of 3 cheeses, it definitely takes you from wicked hungry to wicked happy in just a few wicked good bites. Only at Which Superior Sandwiches.
On Wednesday, the Wicked is just $5. 5 meats, 3 cheeses, $5.
Live and living color and totally free. Subscribe to Warchant TV on YouTube, the digital home of Warchant.com. From the practice field to pregame and the phone calls afterwards, Warchant's YouTube channel is home to live programming like Seminole Headlines, Wake Up Warchant, The Jeff Cameron Show, as well as Trench Talk, a live Q&A with Noles offensive lineman Devontae Love-Taylor. Just search Warchant on YouTube and click or tap the subscribe button. That's it. It's totally free. Warchant TV on YouTube. Just another reason we're the ultimate Seminole sports source.
Seminole Headlines is brought to you by Register Sausage, serving the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. To find a store near you or to buy directly from Registers, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com.
It's time for Seminole Headlines, featuring Warchant.com's Jeff Cameron, managing editor Ira Schofel, and senior writer Corey Clark. Your weekly dose of all things FSU, pistols, and pies starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
Hour number 2, Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Pass around the goodness. Also, this hour brought to you by Birch Orthodontics. Dr. Birch just saw my son Bryce a week ago, and I think we're down to the nitty-gritty. Ira, I think we're getting to
making progress.
I think it's the last 2 months. So he's ready to celebrate. As always, Dr. Birch and her staff do an amazing job, and we strongly recommend that if your child, or maybe you listening to this, have some crooked-ass teeth and need to get them fixed, go see Dr. Birch.
It's never too late, is it? It's never too late?
No, and they specialize in crooked-ass
teeth.
Yeah.
There's like categories. There's like mildly
Like cat
uncomfortable.
scan. Crooked-ass teeth scan.
There we go. So Birch Orthodontics, so you want to go, you can check them out, birchorthodontics.com.
Yep, they have free consultations. They do a tremendous work, award-winning work, and they'll work with you on financing.
Do they give awards for real?
They've, I think they get awards. They've gotten awards. She's been named best orthodontist in Tallahassee before.
Okay, nice.
Should be every year. It's a given.
Really, I don't know why.
Well, why do we even bother?
Yeah,
with the votes?
exactly.
Since FSU and 9 other ACC teams weren't 7-1 or better, and their out-of-conference schedule ended with horrible net ratings, even if ACC play isn't half complete, why should they finish the season if the seedings have already been determined for the big dance, according to Lenardi? Goodness.
That was a lot. That was a word.
There's a
Well,
bunch
you know,
of
it's still
stuff.
fun to compete. And Lunardi, look, man,
I like Joe Lenardi typically.
I mean, it's just it. I hope they get rid of having the draft analyst on in the middle of games. I'd like that to be gone. And Lunardi, sure, in the first half for
Maybe
3
a very
minutes,
snippet, just a little snippet.
but I don't need 5 minutes of talking about NBA, college basketball's draft prospects when you're trying to watch the actual game.
I agree with that. They do a poor job, I think, of covering college basketball, at least in terms of most of the crews that I hear do the games.
Yeah.
I also think, I just think it's so early to be talking about NCAA prospects. And because, look at where Florida State was 2 weeks ago. Look where they are today. Now, where are they going to be 2 or 3 weeks from now? It's just, to me, I don't need too much of that in mid-January.
Correct.
When do you like to start getting on your bubble watch? About mid-Feb?
Mid-February.
After Valentine's Day?
Mid-Feb always feels right.
Don't even look at a bubble until after Valentine's Day.
We have a calendar on the
refrigerator.
Yeah. And we always mark days that are important for the kids and for us and vacation, all that. I always write mid-Feb, it's time.
It's time.
I do
Bubble
that right
time.
there. Yeah, bubble time right there. Well, it's implied. Everybody
Right in the
knows.
middle of Feb.
Yeah.
Right there, smack dab in the middle.
I write mid-Feb, even though it's already in the February header.
Right.
Yeah, you got.
And typically, Florida State isn't on the bubble. It's just seating. You want to know where they're going to be seating. But this time, they're actually, going to be probably dancing on that bubble.
Well, you're about to answer Greg's question, which is, what do you think the ceiling is for FSU men's hoops this year? Listen, the tournament is a crapshoot. Oftentimes, it's about matchups. So, I don't typically say, well, they can't go on to the Sweet 16 or they can't win a game. Who knows? If the matchup's right, maybe you can. But I think this year what we're talking about for Florida State is just making the tournament. We would all be pretty relieved given what they've lost the last 2 years.
Yeah.
If they just made the tournament, that would be reason to celebrate.
Yeah, and you'd likely be going in as maybe an 8 or something like that. You're not going to be going into the tournament as a top 4 or top 5 seed, which
then
you have been.
expectations change.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to be playing a much tougher opponent. And so
I think you want to get that 10 actually, because then the second round game you're playing the 2 instead of the 1.
Right.
So maybe go get that 10 seed.
Should college teams adopt a pro wrestling approach for naming their teams? How many Tigers, Death Valley do we actually need? Solution: LSU Bayou Bengals, Auburn War Eagles, Clemson can keep their tamed Tigers. The only death at Clemson is brain cells listening to Dabo speak. All right, Dad guy, there you go. Throw that out there.
You would think at some point schools would have said, maybe we won't go with Tigers.
It's odd, man. That what's even the appeal of Tigers?
Well, the oddity, obviously, this goes way back because you're right.
Like 12 of them?
There are no Lions in Detroit.
There's no Tigers in Princeton.
There are no Tigers there in South Carolina. There's no reason. There's no reason.
Well, in like Princeton, so that school is what, 400 years old or whatever. Maybe back then they only knew of like 7 animals, and so they had to pick one. They weren't going to pick a human. So they're like, it's going to be tigers or lions or bears. Let's go with tigers because Columbia's the lions.
A lot of names after birds as well.
Harvard just went and named itself a color.
There you go. I kind of like it.
I do too.
We're proud of the color.
Yeah, but yeah, it's bizarre. I think there's the anteaters,
which is great.
There's that. I think there's a JUCO in California that's the banana slugs.
There is.
Like, do that kind of stuff, man. Right?
Yeah, I like. There's a school in Pittsburgh, right? Aren't they the Gorillas? There's one that's like
Pittsburgh State.
Pittsburgh State.
It's actually somewhere in the middle of America.
Yeah, it's not.
But they're called
Kansas,
the Gorillas.
Kansas,
yeah.
Did you were you alive? I don't even know if you were like. This was you're younger than me, Corey.
Right, substantially.
The Macon Whoopee.
Yeah.
When was that? That was in the 90s.
Yeah, yes, and I remember when Gwinnett, the county that I live half the time that my son grows up in, they were getting their new hockey name, their hockey team, and they ended up calling them the Gwinnett Gladiators, whatever. But they had a poll for it, and the name that won was the Gwinnett Paltrows.
Oh,
which would have been awesome.
That is awesome.
I mean, you just think of the hat. She would have probably come once, right? And she can't keep you from naming your team name the Paltrows. It's not like she has a copyright on that name. So Gwinnett Paltrows would have been awesome, but it was also right around Shakespeare in Love. She's not as big a star now, so it would have, maybe would have timed itself out, dated itself a little.
Matthew writes, "Hey guys, love the show. What's been your favorite moment of the Mike Norvell era so far?" The answer to that, if he's not being sarcastic, which I'm sure he probably is, beating Miami.
Yeah, sure. I thought it was his reaction to my question about why would anybody come here, Mike.
That's a moment you guys will always have.
Yeah, that he's had some good moments off the field and a couple good ones on, but I would say that one or the win against Carolina, the first win against Carolina, were the two good ones.
And the boat racing of Carolina up there was a good one too.
Yeah, but that made you 2-4.
No, I'm just saying that was just a nice, solid ass kicking.
Yeah,
you dominated that game. Really, it wasn't a fluke at all. Good game plan.
Yeah,
stayed calm after a shaky start.
You're right. The
win executed.
The win over Miami though is clearly the highlight so far,
without question. What chance do you give the Hoops team of winning at least one of the games against Duke or Miami? And how bad would losing both games hurt our tournament chances? All right, well, that's from Bishop. Of course, they have beaten Miami already, but I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the upcoming matchup against Miami.
Yeah,
so they're going to win one of those two games.
I'm torn on that as far as the chance goes. I mean, I don't know, 40%.
Yeah, I think it's below 50%.
But I originally walked out of that game against Miami the first time and thought, man, they're not going to beat that team down there. But I also was thinking about how many of Miami had so many fluky things go their way in the first 35 minutes of that game. I mean, every loose ball. I mean, you got to give them credit for hustling.
Yeah.
But so many times the ball would just get kicked around and it would end up in a Miami guy's hands and he hits a three. Or
that
they
happened late a bunch,
the
but they also missed a bunch of open looks.
No, they did. But to even be in that position late, there were a lot of things it was just a weird game in that sense. Florida State.
It's a winnable game. I'm with you, but
Miami's offense looked so out of sorts for huge chunks of that game.
Yeah.
And defense travels, so I think it's going to be a good.
It's a weird offense, that Miami offense, because it's basically just three dudes that go one-on-one.
Well, I was just about to say
good,
they get isolation and they get one-on-one,
but it's not a real team flowing offense. A lot like Syracuse, actually. There were like 4 possessions where nobody touched the ball other than Boeheim, who just old man dribbled into the paint and threw up a shot. I don't know that fosters a great team chemistry. But yeah, they're good. They got 3 dudes that can really go score. And that one kid that's 24, he looks 14.
It's crazy.
It's crazy how young he looks.
Garrett writes,
like me.
Ho ho.
Right.
Horizons.
Oh, did he?
Sorry.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. I was
You
going to let
didn't
you
sing
do
it, though?
I didn't. I was going to let
No,
you.
man,
I
you're
was trying
supposed
to
to sing
serve
it.
it up to you, man.
No.
I hate it. That's why I didn't want
I
to
know.
sing
That's
it.
why I wanted to hear you
I don't
sing
hate
it.
Horizons. I hate that you do that.
We were all at Horizons the other day.
We were, and we were spotted by legions of our fans, and they pointed it out, which I think is good publicity for Horizons.
Yeah, you never know if we're going to be there or not.
Well, we're likely
It's
going
a lot
to be
like
there.
when there used to be Planet Hollywoods, and you didn't know if Schwarzenegger,
All of a sudden you walk in,
DeVito,
there's Bruce Willis.
there's DeVito or Demi Moore. Like you don't know
People
when you go
probably
to
feel the
Horizons.
same way.
Just
Like,
like
there
that.
they
Yeah.
are.
Oh,
Look
they
at them.
actually there right
They're
here.
at the table,
Yeah.
hanging out, having a big time.
It's a big night. The Coburns were there. David Coburn and his wife Mary.
Yeah,
John
Nagowski was
Nagowski's
there.
dad was there. John Nagowski.
Yeah.
At what point do you
Basically, that area, they call that the Walk of Fame.
It's
Right.
VIP.
That's why we were
that
there.
area, that's why we were sitting there. Now, others who they don't gain entry, they can
Right.
see. Bro.
Right.
They
Yeah,
can
they don't
see.
get past the velvet ropes.
That's what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Well, I would say this: my meal, as always, was delicious. Since we're gonna go ahead, he gave us the. I mean, we got to do it right here. It's right there. Meal was delicious. Company was great. We had a great time.
Good time. Good time.
You know, I got to tell everybody. Ira, sorry to interrupt. I walked in after they had already arrived, guys. Ira had ordered me Cigar City High Life.
Yeah,
That's
was
my man
crazy.
right there. That's my man.
That's not Ira though. That was a weird
What,
thing.
you
Now that
saying
I think
Ira's
about
rude?
it.
He's
He's not
not
rude. He's just
kind-hearted,
not.
he's
That's not
thoughtful.
something you would think Ira would do.
He did do it.
I know.
I
I'm
walked
not
in with
saying
an
it's
ice
I
cold
wouldn't do
Cigar
it
City
either.
High Life waiting
Yeah.
on me.
That was and you hadn't texted him ahead of time.
Not at all.
Oh, but y'all
And-
hadn't seen each other in the parking lot, so you knew he was there.
Well,
You knew
because
he
he
was
stole
coming.
my space.
Yeah.
And I said something threatening to him, but we won't get into that. But I would also say this as a side note. When I walked up, I knew that was a Cigar City High Life. It has a very
Just by the
distinct look.
tone.
Well, the look, yeah, the tenor. I got to tell you, the hue.
You knew it wasn't an Ultra.
I knew it wasn't the garbage you drink.
Right.
And then I didn't see Ira's drink, so I thought, is Ira drinking a Cigar City High? What's going on? My man is out to party tonight.
Yeah.
But alas, it was mine. Horizons Bar and Grill, delicious, folks, and you'll probably see us there.
You probably will.
Another question about Jordan Travis. I feel with an updated O-line and wide receiver group, he'll be kept upright a bit more, which could equal better health and success. What say you? Well, that's a logical conclusion that if he's kept upright and he has better receivers to throw to, he'll have a better year.
It is kind of interesting that they got 4 receivers, including 2 that have done it at the Power 5 level. One who's really done it. Winston Wright's caught a lot of passes.
Yes, he has. He's probably plug and play day one without question.
Right.
Yeah.
Polish the whole thing.
To come here when they had other options. You know what I'm saying? Like the Pittman kid. I mean, he said he sounded like he had an option to go to Southern Cal if he wanted to.
That was odd. He's
So
like,
that-
yeah, but they didn't have an established coach. I'm like, man, all right. Lincoln Riley's pretty
Well, it was
established.
just a turnover,
Yeah.
I guess. His thinking
but
is,
yeah, and I think he maybe made that decision like right when that was happening. Didn't know who the quarterback was, but I did think it was interesting that Pittman said that he watched. Was it him? I think it was him that was talking about that he watched film of Jordan Travis, and that also he's like, again, I don't know if this is Dilly telling him this, but he's like, yeah, I know there's all this talk about how he can't. He's like, but he's got a good arm and he is accurate. He can throw on the run, and I'm like, well, who told you he couldn't?
That was Dillingham.
Dillingham's
told
like-
him that's what people say about him.
Right,
But
right, yeah. Because he's
better
like,
than
I
people
watched
think.
film and he's got a really good arm and he's accurate on the run. It's like, yeah, well, he's got some strengths and weaknesses, but
I do think that obviously we talk about the receivers because it's obvious they had to get better there. They had to get some polished guys in there, but having a depth of offensive line to where you could withstand a loss.
Yeah.
I mean, sweet Jesus. I mean, this has been the death of this team for 5 years running. If a guy goes down that is a bona fide starter for you on that offensive line, you're dead in the water.
Look, it's not a coincidence that they struggled so much. I mean, Jordan wasn't playing early last season, but also Maurice Smith was out. He went down in the opener against Notre Dame. He was out for like 3 games. That was a big deal. And then when my man from Notre Dame, Dylan Gibbons, when he came back and played, he wasn't healthy. Devontae Love-Taylor came back and played.
He was never healthy the whole year, yeah.
So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff when you don't have depth, you're having to play guys who shouldn't be out there.
Well, and you also don't allow the young players like Maurice Smith to develop in time so that they can build up the requisite strength and body mass so that they don't get hurt so easily. I mean, I thought at the end of the year, he was on roller skates. I mean, he just looked like a guy who was beat up and tired and playing hurt, and he's undersized because he wasn't allotted the time that you're normally allotted when you have depth to get bigger and stronger. Let's see, Def Chant, is that what that is? Right. It's just curious how you guys think the recent transfer portal surge will affect the locker room dynamic. Veteran guys with production, but sometimes it's respect is earned, not just given. Needs are being addressed regardless. Can FSU be a top 40 offense with wide receiver and offensive line additions?
I'm curious. There's a couple of positions I'm a little bit curious about. Just
We got inside that top 60. It's up there on the wall.
That's right.
We did get up inside that top 60.
yeah,
this year,
like
boys.
efficiency.
Yeah.
The scoring,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
scoring
Well,
was
I
still
care
outside.
more about the advanced stuff.
I don't know. I think next year I'm going to start caring more about the scoring. Right, go ahead and just put points on the board. But yeah, they did get inside the top 60.
Last year when the transfers came in, again, man, I don't know if any of the defensive ends would have resented Keir Thomas or Jermaine Johnson because
they knew they looked like
ready.
the best players on the field.
Right. And this year, you do wonder, like at wide receiver, like Pokey Wilson, Keyshawn Helton, and I guess maybe you don't care about their feelings.
You don't care at all.
Nope.
Sure don't. You're not worried about it at all. You and I were both like, who cares? Don't care.
They may not be overjoyed is what I'm saying.
But I don't know that it would be awful dynamic. I don't know that the dynamic of the locker room would change. And let's be honest, man, starting in the spring, what is half the team going to be former transfers? It's not, and I'm not joking. I mean, when you talk about Jamie Robinson, Fabian Lovett, Jordan Travis, like so many of these guys have started at other schools that I don't know that can even be a thing anymore. Like, who are you to give me a side eye? You were at Louisville when you got out of high school.
Yes, to your point, I think this will be standard operating procedure. You just know that people are always, as they always were, just a little bit differently now, recruiting over you. That's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
R.A. Andrews writes, we know Jordan Travis has a 4th and 14 shirt. Did Corey Clark talk to Parchment about an arms wide open shirt?
Oh, with a little Creed reference. Yeah. No, but I thought Raekwon, I tweeted about after the game, he could do a 0.8 second shirt for his free throws. And hey, we didn't talk about it, but good for that kid. He's been
back-to-back games.
Yeah, he's good against Syracuse.
Confidence goes a long way, doesn't it?
But he played 30 minutes too.
He played really well against Syracuse.
He did, and not just because he made some shots, but those are big. It's also, do him and Wilkes have the 2 highest 3-point shots in the country?
Wilkes is high.
Wilkes goes off the screen. And
which makes it all the prettier when it does go in.
I mean, it splashes through, but
drawers, and you hear the sound.
A little too much of an arc. I'm not one to argue with the way Wyatt Wilkes shoots a basketball. He's much better than I am at it, but that's a really high arc. But yeah, it was cool for Raekwon to have those moments, those 2 games, especially the Miami game. That was really neat because, the way he had been playing, and just the season he'd had, and his loss of his brother. That was cool to see. We hadn't gotten to talk about it because that happened the night of the last headlines. So
I celebrated the next day on the Jeff Cameron Show. And we talked about it at length, Corey. We don't have to read it.
Sorry, I'm there might be some people that watch this that don't watch the Jeff Cameron Show or listen to it. You're right.
I'll get into more headliner questions momentarily. We got to head over to Facebook. These were all Twitter just now.
Oh, cool, because he waited till midnight to ask. Well, that makes sense.
But these were really solid. They were really good right out the gates. I saw them. They came out swinging.
Okay.
You guys should know I got a Slack message just now, guys.
Did you?
Very, very excited.
Welcome.
Nobody at home gets
welcome
that.
to the team.
I got one.
Welcome to the team.
It was the second one today. It's amazing. Seminole headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio. Warchant TV continues in a moment. The owner of Gordo's and all those wonderful restaurants, Eddie, what would you be doing?
I think I'd want to be I don't know what I'd want to be. A boat captain or a cowboy.
Do you know how to use a lasso?
No.
You'd have to do that if you were a cowboy.
Yeah, but I've never even been on a horse. It's not my place to be on a horse.
I agree. And the horse thanks you. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
This is Kyle, service manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service Program. With guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 berry bucks to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186. Stuck in an expensive timeshare contract and feel like there's no way out?
I'm almost at $10,000 in 4 years. I've never traveled anywhere.
They made this sound that this would be a really good deal, that I could go anywhere, anytime I wanted to. That never worked out.
I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO of Wesley Financial Group. I've helped thousands of people get rid of their timeshares. I know all the tricks because I'm embarrassed to say I once worked in the timeshare industry. We've saved suffering timeshare owners millions in debt and maintenance fees. When you're approved as a client, I guarantee you a 100% success rate. We'll get you out of your timeshare, eliminate your payments, and get them off of your back permanently.
I honestly would recommend that you call Wesley Financial. They will help you.
Call Wesley Financial Group now for your free information kit. If they can't get you out of your timeshare, you'll pay nothing. Call 800-600-9595. 800-600-9595. That's 800-600-9595.
When some slithery, slimy something shows up uninvited in my home, I want it gone. Now. Not next Tuesday, not tomorrow. Today. Pretty sure I'm not sleeping knowing that thing is crawling around in my house. That's why I call Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Here in Tallahassee, Paul's guarantees same-day service if I call before 1. Ants, roaches, mice, wasps, fleas, whatever it is, Paul's responds with guaranteed same-day service. Pretty sure I've never heard that from any other pest company. Guess that's an advantage to being a locally owned and operated company like Paul's Termite and Pest Control. They're here and make things happen fast.
We at Paul's know when you have some pest or rodent in your home, you want it out now. That's why in Tallahassee, we guarantee same-day service. You call us before 1, we'll be there before 5, guaranteed. That's our commitment to you. The health and protection of North Florida friends and neighbors is the reason we love our jobs.
For the elimination of termites or any other pests.
And a greener lawn, too.
Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
Learn more at callpauls.com.
What's important when shopping at a gun store? Let's start with a friendly and knowledgeable staff. Then add top-notch service, great selection and pricing, and a personal shopping experience only found at a locally owned and operated business. At Red Hills Arms, they're right on target. While other gun stores come and go, Red Hills Arms remains Tallahassee's go-to local gun store for all your firearms needs. Stop by today and get welcomed in like family.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Michael writes, when UCF crushed us last year, we went on to win 10 of the next 12. Wake crushed us this year, and it's 3 wins in a row so far. Jeff, your tough love on anybody named Raekwon always helps. He was Gray last year and Evans this year. Between that, Corey lighting up Norvell, Ira being 5 stars, you guys already know your influence. Keep it up. And my question is, and I know it's still early, but since we all agree it's a bowl or warm seat for Norvell, who are the 6 wins for the fall? I'll start with 1. We'll beat Duquesne. Yeah, we all agree on Duquesne.
Duquesne's in trouble.
Yeah.
And it's not just a warm seat. If they don't go to a bowl game next year, man, it's a hot seat.
Yeah, not that he would be fired, but going into 2023, it would be scorching hot.
If you go 5-7 again, man, they we'll see, man. I mean, that would be a rough one.
Well, yeah. Well, and look, Deion's out there.
Right, good point.
It's just
Deion's out there. I'm just saying they're gonna throw for 6,000 yards.
You're gonna be the reason we have to have that conversation, that illegitimate conversation
with Coleman and Travis Hunter.
I'm going to do this for the gentleman who asked us. Here we go. We're going to do it right here on the show. Sorry, guys. I had to pull this up. All right.
So Duquesne were in Louisiana. I'm saying Louisiana. They lost their coach. They lost their running back.
Quarterback.
I think they lost their quarterback too.
All right. Duquesne. They also just lost a 5-star offensive lineman that went to Florida with Napier. Duquesne, we all agree.
Yes.
Louisiana. We all agree.
Yep.
Now we're going to stop once we get to 6. We just have to name 6.
Okay.
All right. So I'll offer some 50-50 games before I get into the meat and potatoes. BC.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a dub.
Yeah, that's 3. Georgia Tech. That's 4.
Yes.
That's a dub. Where is that? That's up there.
That's here. It's here.
Is it
really?
It's here.
Oh, Georgia Tech having to play FSU 2 times in a row down here.
We've already got to 4.
Yeah.
All right. Wake is here.
Yeah.
I like the Noles. I like the Noles to win that game.
I do too.
That's 5.
Sorry, Sam.
Let's see. At Syracuse, that's 6.
Should be.
I mean, that's a win. You're not losing to Syracuse.
No, the basketball team just won in that same building.
We're
done.
That's
don't
6
even go. There you go. We just
I don't need to name Miami or NC State or Clemson or Florida
or LSU, but
I left them all out of it, right?
Or whoever you're playing in the bowl.
There are your 6.
Yep.
All right,
that's easy peasy. You're starting the season with 6. It's just now a matter of stacking. How many more are you going to stack on there?
I should mention, by the way, that it is January 18th currently, and this month will be over before you know it. And once you hit February, the spring game's on the horizon, guys.
Yeah. Spring practice is starting up soon, and it's going to be an interesting spring with a bunch of new faces.
All right. So Ryan writes, fellas, as Corey would say, Sid Sherrill days until softball season. Oh, that's funny. Will there be an OKC edition of Seminole Headlines this summer with Sid, Cat, and other youngsters like Mudgeback? Could be another deep run. But they're not beating Oklahoma. And they are not. And it's unbelievable. And here's why. They just got an even bigger and better class than they just had. It's
they got
insane.
like 5 of the top 12 players in the country go to Oklahoma. Plus going on what they just did last year. But I just saw they just released the new polls, and Florida State is 6th in the country, which feels a little low to me. They just finished 2nd, but hey, you want the chip on your shoulder. You want a little chip on your shoulder. So they're ranked number 6 in the country right now. But yeah, Oklahoma's going to be loaded again. Loaded again.
Although if the girl that pitched the last 2 games or whatever, like if she hadn't come back, because she did not have like a really good year, right? And then she came back and just kind of found it late, this last season and really kind of dominated them and not dominated them, but pitched really well in the championship round. If it wasn't for her, Florida State, they acquitted themselves very well. They played right with it.
No, they were hanging tough. No, they did about as well as anybody could do. It's just that team is loaded. And then when we found out
their whole team hit 430,
it was insane. Every time they went down the
numbers
roster
were unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Joseph writes, top of the morning to you, gents. Not to belabor the topic of Travis Hunter, but would you 3 agree that having the number 1 player in the nation being committed for 2 years probably turned a lot of recruits' attention towards our beloved Noles? Some who probably kept their commitment. I'm not mad at Travis Hunter. I'm not mad at Dion. The kid is just one player. Thanks, you guys, for your weekly exercise and broadcast excellence. Yeah, so it wasn't a total loss. Travis Hunter being committed to us for as long as he was is his point.
Yeah.
Certainly turned a lot of upper crust recruits' attention towards Florida State, and they got some of those kids.
He did say that he did an interview. I can't remember who it was with. He did an interview a couple days later, and he said, I never went and recruited any of those kids to come with me. Like, I never told them, hey, don't go to Florida State, come with me. Now, the Kevin Coleman ended up coming there, but it sounded like that was totally independent. Like, Kevin Coleman saw what happened with Travis and ended up going there.
To be part of it.
But it wasn't like Travis Hunter recruited him away. So
that's going to be an interesting whatever they do. I'm sure there's some documentary being worked on or something.
There is, yes.
That's going to be really interesting because as cool a story as it might be for a historically black college to get those kind of players and to have that kind of head coach, it is a whole different lifestyle for an FCS player, as we talked about with Jared Verse today, who's from Albany. He's an FCS school, talking about the differences between what you get in an FCS school and what you get at an FBS school when it comes to nutrition, strength, just the money
equipment,
you can
facilities,
travel, just the life. So that's going to be fascinating to see if that's a one-off or if that's something that a trend that continues, because it's cool to be a guy that's a pioneer at first. It's cool to be, really it is, I think, but then you have to go live that reality of that. And you see, just looking at the players at Georgia or Florida State and how their lives are maybe a little bit easier than your life at Jackson State or Albany or FAMU, any of the FCS schools.
Walter writes, if Noles Hoops has a COVID outbreak around 5 p.m. today, does Coach K throw the same fit that Dabo did? Could we reschedule and play Duquesne instead? Thanks again to Corey for saving the football program.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
I don't think Coach K would I don't think he'd freak out now. I think he's a little bit more reasonable.
I think Dabo's the one and only.
Yeah.
And
he's a unicorn.
Coach K is constantly missing games himself.
Yeah.
He can't get mad at anybody.
I forgot last year, but they canceled. They didn't play Duke last year because of COVID, but Krzyzewski was going to miss the game anyway.
Right.
Because
he was the
of COVID.
first one.
Yeah. So, no, I don't think he would pull a Dabo. I feel like he's a little smarter than Dabo.
Ryan writes, on the topic of conference switching, can you explain FSU and the ACC situation? I've read the grant of rights that FSU signed is ironclad, and therefore no ACC team can leave until 2036 without forfeiting TV revenue. Is that the case? If so, where does that leave us as the SEC gets bigger and other conferences grow their revenues? It leaves us screwed, Ryan.
Maryland did it.
It pretty much is the case.
They did it, I think, before.
Oh, they did?
Rights.
Yeah.
They still had to pay a big old sum,
still
right?
paying.
Yeah, so there was what was in place before the grant of rights was just a huge buyout.
$200 million, whatever.
I think it was whatever it was. It was like 30-something million or something. It was a lot of money. But with this newer grant of rights, it's a
so when was that? So the 13 season was the last time Florida State played them, right? That was the whole thing. It was the last. So they've been in the Big Ten for 8 years now.
It's gone well for them.
Steady taking ass beatings. They got that money, buddy.
But as a Maryland fan, the Maryland fans don't get that money.
No.
And now they've lost getting to play Duke, getting to play Carolina,
basketball,
getting to play well, that's what they care about.
I know.
And
I
you just
agree.
ripped
That's why
it
I'm
from them
reiterating
and gave them games against Purdue, Iowa, and Nebraska that they don't care about or get to travel to. It's just it was such a short-sighted move. I mean, I'm sure they've made plenty of money on it, but I don't think it's been good for the Maryland athletic program at all. Or the Maryland fans.
I think it feels for Rutgers knowing they'll never win more than 2 games in conference. The rest
Yeah,
of
but
their
they
life.
never were. Rutgers fans don't even have.
Shiano had it going in the Big East, baby.
They don't care about college sports. I think Maryland has a fan base that actually cared about certainly basketball, and you kind of ripped that away and made them go play.
But to Ryan's,
country.
well, and nobody made them. They made that decision.
Sure.
They chose to do it, and they took the money, and they take the beatings that go along with. But Ryan, yes, in essence, it is. I mean, unless you could get whatever destination you want Florida State to arrive at, say the SEC or wherever it is, unless you can get them to agree to pay the exorbitant fee that would accompany, then
you'd have to, if things don't change dramatically in the whole landscape of college sports. What would have to happen is you get close enough to that 2036 that it makes sense. Where it's 50, it was 20 million a year, and we're only 7 years out or whatever. We can figure out a way to make those payments and do it. But right now, it's so far away that there's no way. But I think what you're hoping for, if you're an FSU fan, is that the money either gets carved up differently as TV deals are redone, or it's all blown up and it becomes one.
Well, isn't that what
mega
Phillips
conference.
is trying to do? And that's why he's not signing off on the playoff expansion, because he wants the money to Phillips, the ACC commissioner. He's the only one that's come out publicly against it, right?
I think he's the only one that's done the.
So they want to do it this year. I think they would love to expand the playoffs this year.
Right.
And the ACC basically said no, not unless ... we start getting a bigger cut of the whole TV pie, because we're all in this together. And it's a smart play, because 3 years from now, ACC won't have any leverage.
Yeah, he's using it as a chip.
Yeah. So hopefully it works, and hopefully it gets his conference more money.
Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Local news now.
An EF1 tornado struck a portion of Dog Island Saturday night and damaged structures and knocked out power. The tornado, which brought wind speeds as high as 95 miles per hour, struck along the southeast coastal side of the island at around 12:22 a.m. Sunday. The twister did damage to a home as it traveled northeastward through the island, knocking out power to 97 Duke Energy customers. There were no reports of injuries. A teenager is dead and several others were seriously injured following a vehicle accident in Taylor County. The incident happened on Lauren Henderson Road. An SUV with a driver and 5 passengers was traveling west when it drifted to the left and swerved back to the right for an unknown reason. Troopers said the vehicle began to roll over and came to rest on its roof. 2 passengers were ejected, including a 15-year-old male who was pronounced dead on scene. 3 other passengers were taken to the hospital with serious injuries, while the 17-year-old driver and another passenger suffered minor injuries. No one in the SUV was wearing a seatbelt. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at macklemoresystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. High 58 this afternoon. Under sunny skies, northeast winds around 5 miles per hour. Partly cloudy tonight, lows level off around 33. Highs level off around 65 tomorrow. Mainly sunny skies. Upper 60s Thursday with a chance for scattered rain showers. Much cooler Friday with highs in the mid 50s. Showers continue. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 54.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
It's Congressman Michael Waltz on the Greg Tish Show.
Good morning, Congressman. How are you doing?
Hey, doing well.
Again, just what you have to go through day in and day out. I don't know how you have hair left, or like Matty Rowe, just completely bald. Hey, sorry.
And the irony of it all, the progressives are the tail wagging the dog. This whole bipartisan White House is a joke. We're just watching them, eat their own.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3.
Seminole Headlines is brought to you by Register Sausage, serving the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. To find a store near you or to buy directly from Registers, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Thomas wants to know, specifically from you, Ira, when the state gets at least he addressed it, Ira. When the state gets the NLI stuff fixed, will FSU have the resources to compete with our regional rivals, Bama, Georgia, Auburn, Clemson, UF, LSU, etc.? If DeSantis would have just left well enough alone, do you think we would have landed Travis Hunter, all the rest of the great players that we're talking about here, West Jones Jr., all that? Did not landing those high school kids free up the funds to get the portal kids Norvell has brought in since?
First of all, I mean, if FSU, it was kind of like a catch-22. If the state of Florida and Ron DeSantis hadn't gone through and pushed through the NIL when they did, we don't know if the NCAA would have backed down. There might not have been as many. There was California was doing their law as well.
Yes.
But when you had California and Florida, and then other states started lining up, that kind of created the pressure where the NCAA had to back down. If they hadn't, then it might have been different. So you can't really blame them for that. But as far as where FSU, like the state of Florida, is going to change it so where the schools can be part of this process, which is good. That's a positive. Whether or not they can compete with, the Texases and USCs and all that, probably not.
No, the answer is no.
Yeah, but you also have some other advantages being here. Yeah, you are in the state of Florida. There's tremendous talent.
Yeah,
not every kid is going to make his decision based totally on NIL. So I mean, at least this part would at least kind of level the playing field in terms of now the coaching staff and the school can be a part of the process, which is a good thing.
Not every NLI comes down to NIL.
Good point. I
like
what you did there.
Yeah. He's so proud of himself. Did you see it? He's like,
been waiting a minute, waiting for Ira to shut up for a minute so I could bring that gym.
Gator Kirk writes, good afternoon. With about 8 or 9 starters returning on both sides of the ball, how much flavor aid should the fans be drinking for a 10-win season? I'm at
Kirk.
He says I'm at 7 or 8.
The fact that he uses flavor aid is really well done, Gator Kirk.
And then he writes that he's at 7 or 8 wins max. I'm more along the lines of 8 wins.
I wouldn't
tough
say,
schedule. It's a tough schedule.
Yeah, I wouldn't say 7 or 8 wins max. If that's the most they could do, I think it's possible they could get to 10. I just wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, I think anywhere
8.
between 6 and 9, 6 and 10, because it's a better roster, and they were basically a 6-win team last year.
And you won't have that first month. You know, I mean, where
you know who your quarterback is, as long as he's healthy.
That's that. I mean, that was a huge part of the problem.
Boner wants to know any names to know that could be the FSU offensive line coach, is what he asks. And then 2, is Destin Hill coming to FSU?
Good questions. I think Alex Atkins is going to be
still the offensive line coach.
And Destin Hill, we don't know. I mean, we'll just keep checking with us. We'll let you know if we ever hear or see him here.
I've asked this on Wake Up Warchant. Do you think he really exists
as a person,
as
a human being?
I watched his Instagram when he committed and signed.
Okay, but that wasn't an actor playing a football player.
It wasn't a hologram.
Okay, no, I'm just saying. Have we seen him since?
No, and he. So what we were told all last year when we asked around was that they hoped to get him here by January. That did not happen. So now they're talking about possibly by the summer. So maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't by summer, I think we're
it's time to punt. It's time to punt on Destin.
I laugh that I get that question every day. I never answer it, so I'm glad that you addressed it. I never answer. I just assume he's not coming.
Hey, going back to the NIL money though, I meant to bring this up when he was talking about did that money go to transfers. I'm sure some of it is allocated to the new guys that are coming in. And when you talk about dynamics in a locker room, that is the one fascinating part about all this, I think, is there are guys that are going to be in a locker room that aren't getting paid, over the table, like maybe their new teammates who haven't accomplished anything at Florida State yet. Do you think that affects anything at all? Because in the pros, you all know what everybody's making. But in college, you don't. You could ask a guy, and he might tell you. Some guy might brag, but otherwise, you don't really know what the guy next to you is making.
Did you see what the Ruiz guy at Miami tweeted yesterday? Because he's starting he's the big billionaire booster that wants to build their stadium and all that stuff. He started a new company, and he's hired I don't know, half the team, but at different salaries. Like the Van Dyke kid's got $50,000 for a year of endorsements. Another kid's $42,000. Another kid's $40,000. I do think what's interesting, from what I'm just talking to people at FSU, one of the things that they do want to see happen whenever there is some sort of oversight of this whole process, because right now it is the Wild West, is that there would be some sort of guidelines set up based on your, Instagram followers, Twitter followers. Like, this is your reach. So this is this is the going wage, or this is the going rate. You're not just going to give a guy $1 million because you think he might be really good, or you're in a recruiting battle, but because he's got that kind of following, like Dana Castellanos or somebody.
Yeah.
It would be based more on those kinds of things if there was some more oversight. We'll see.
Yeah, and there are groups, there are people we know that have already an interest in posting those sorts of things about per athlete, what a tweet's worth, or what, and we can get into that later, but there are sites that do that. Hey, fellas, this writes Chase. Couple questions here for you. What is our timetable for transfers coming in, and how many to expect? Also, what is the update with Norvell looking for running backs, co-offensive coordinator, coach? How does it affect us keeping Dugans and not getting the role filled? Thanks, guys. Well, we don't know what's going to happen with Dugans yet still, right?
No, we haven't heard anything definitive. They have not announced a new contract extension. His contract expires the end of January. We'll hear something pretty soon.
The coaches convention just happened. What was the
running back? They just solved that with Trey Benson.
That's correct.
I don't know that they're going to sign another running back.
I wouldn't think, no, unless something incredible comes out on the market.
And any other question there? No, we're good. Timetable, I guess, for when the transfers were coming in.
So they've got
most
10,
of them are here, right?
Yeah, they've got most of them are here. They've got 10 committed or signed, including Trey Benson, who just did. And my guess is they could probably get another 4 or 5 or so. I mean, I think.
But they couldn't, right? Because how many kids are they going to sign anybody in this next signing class for high school kids?
Well, in February?
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible maybe one, but not
That's
many.
it. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So then, you could go to 14 or 15. I mean, that's
because
what a world.
The total, because this 1 year, because of the COVID,
you get up to 32,
right?
You can get up to 32.
Wow.
If enough guys leave your team.
Yeah.
So they've had a lot leave, but they're not there yet.
I'm sure they've strongly encouraged
more
others.
guys could end up.
Marcus Cushney is now at UMass.
Yep.
Congrats to him.
Yep.
What? I mean, he found a place to go play football.
He did. A place is right. That's the way you said it was so.
I wasn't being snarky.
Congratulations, indeed. Will Chubba Purdy save Scott Frost's job at Nebraska?
So that was an Oklahoma-Nebraska battle. It was like back in the 80s.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. I've got faith that Chubba Purdy can be better than Martinez was at Nebraska for the last 27 years that he was the quarterback for the Cornhuskers.
Right.
I don't know that he can save Scott Frost.
He
I don't know
took over for Tommy Frazier, didn't he?
It's crazy how long Martinez was there and for how many years he consistently sucked and was given the opportunity to continue to start.
He was just good enough to lose close.
No, he was good enough to suck year
they
in,
got
year
him close
out.
to winning games.
Oh,
got him close to winning games.
This past year, they got close to winning games. The year before, when he started, they got beat on the regular.
But he's not even like the Texas kid transferred to Nebraska too. Thompson. But he's not the only transfer Nebraska got. They got a kid from Texas, like a highly touted kid. So it's not like he's going in with the keys to the job. So he's going to have to earn that just like he would have to earn it here. But I guess the thought is it's an open competition there. It wouldn't have been here. So, hey, good luck to him too. Good luck to Chubba.
By the way, really quick here, guys, it may be a first in a while. You can tell we're sort of in the off season. Beyond redundant questions, we're done. I got to every Facebook and every Twitter question, guys.
Yeah.
You can open it up to Twitch and Snapchat.
You could open it up to the people on YouTube, the chat. You could open up to the chat.
All right, let's go over there, guys. I'll pull it up here. Nope, they're talking amongst each other and yelling at each other.
Oh, all right.
It's what happens. It's a perfect time for us to break and come back and wrap.
I got an update on the on Cheer, the documentary on Netflix. I got an update that I can share.
I've been waiting.
Yeah. So hold on to your butts. Hold on to your butts.
Oh, you don't want to go with it now?
Well, no, you said you had to take a break.
Well, we didn't have to. I was going to usher us there, but this is
No,
big.
so y'all know, I was just going to say, I was giving Cheer a shout out. They had a new season, and if you guys remember correctly, there was my favorite character from the last season.
Turned out to be a child molester.
But turned out to be a really not great person. But
That's one way of putting it.
I thought they were going to gloss over it and not really go into detail on what happened, but they dedicated an entire show to it and even talked to his two victims and their mom, the victim's mom, and went into the whole backstory of what happened, how he coerced them, how he knew them, and painted him out to be an awful person, and let them say that about him and let them say that about the Cheer. You don't usually see that. Usually they would just been glossed over, been a 5-minute thing, and they're on to the next season. But they dedicated a whole season.
I like that Corey was
whole
waiting
show
so
to it.
long for this to come out that as soon as it happened, as soon as Netflix released it,
That's what I was going to say.
as soon as
But
it was
you just
released,
jump
you're
right
like,
into season
oh, here
two.
we go. It's here. He didn't even.
So this year, you guys will be interested to know, they follow two teams. They follow Navarro, who's the one they followed for the first season, and their arch rival, Trinity Valley.
Does Brady say, "What are you doing, Dad"?
No, he
watching
doesn't
this
know.
Cheer
I
thing?
don't tell him this.
Does Stephanie ask, what are you doing?
Yes, of course.
Because we are asking.
But really, the only reason I watched it was to see how they address the Jerry situation. And if I would, so I watched the first 4 episodes, fast forwarded a lot through some stuff.
I was going to say.
And I was like, man, when are they ever going to get to this? I did. And then finally I get to the 5th episode and it's titled Jerry. I was like, well, I could have, if I'd have just looked at the episode list, I could have fast forwarded to the 5th episode, but then that would have robbed me of getting to know the kids at Trinity Valley. And those kids work just as hard as the kids at Navarro.
Oh,
So
we'll
it's
come
a great
back
show.
and wrap it up momentarily on Seminole Headlines. Hang in.
Hey, tell me a joke. The past, present, and future walk into a bar. It was tense.
All jokes aside, the trained professionals at Mac & More Systems are serious about Apple products. For all your Mac repairs, call Mac & More Systems at 894-3622. 894-3622.
I may be Dr. Nina Ford Johnson, but I'm a mom first. My babies are my top priority, always. With COVID going around affecting Black kids at a higher rate, I'm telling any parent with kids 5 and older that asks, mine will be getting the COVID vaccine as soon as they're old enough. The risk from COVID far outweigh any risk from side effects of the vaccine. It's the best protection for my kids and for yours. We can do this.
Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
When you are approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Pete Tyson and Preservation Financial Group are here to help you preserve your retirement. The team at Preservation Financial Group can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a comprehensive income plan designed around your needs. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risk before you retire. To schedule a free, no-obligation consultation, reach out to Pete Tyson and Preservation Financial Group today. 850-523-6118. That's 850-523-6118. Or visit them online at preservationfinancialgroup.com.
This is Sister Dot Brown, reminding you to tune in every Sunday morning from 9 to 11 for good gospel music here on 93.3 every Sunday morning. Dot Brown.
If you weren't the owner of Gordo's and all those wonderful restaurants, Eddie, what would you be doing?
You know, I think I'd want to be I don't know what I'd want to be, a boat captain or a cowboy.
You know how to use a lasso?
No.
You'd have to do that if you were a cowboy.
Yeah, but I've never even been on a horse. It's not my place to be on a horse.
I agree. And the horse thanks you. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Many orthodontists in Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. The experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of the latest techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have a more complicated case requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last a lifetime.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
No more cheerleading talk?
No, we're done. We're done. Good show, though, guys. Watch it. Along with Yellow Jackets. It's a good show.
I've stumbled across Yellow Jackets a few times, and I've always intrigued, but I haven't.
Christina
watched.
Ricci, you remember her?
Yeah, I remember her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Juliette Lewis, she's in it too. It's a good show.
What's the premise?
The premise is it's a high school soccer team that crashes in the mountains.
Okay, I wondered why they were always out in the middle of nowhere when I'm flipping around.
Their plane crashes in the mountains, and they have to survive for 18 months. And then it also fast forward. So it's set in 1996.
Basically, this is Lord of the Flies?
And Alive, a little bit of Alive mixed in. But it's
all
also,
of these are based on Lord of the Flies.
But it's also, it fast forwards to 2021. And, some of the girls have, they're now adults and they got back, they got rescued. And it's the two timelines and how they got back and all. It's really good. It's good.
Right.
It's got a Lord of the Flies element to it. For sure.
Course it does.
Did you guys, you wouldn't have listened to the interview. Yesterday we interviewed Coach Hamilton about Joe B. Hall and the Kentucky coach who passed away this weekend, 93, who was kind of his mentor. And Leonard got emotional like 2 different times in the interview. It was really cool. I mean, it was cool to see how much Joe B. Hall meant to him. It was kind of uncomfortable to sit there and listen to him get so emotional. But it was, Austin wrote a story about it. It's up on the website, but
Go read it for sure.
But the interview wasn't, it was a Zoom interview, but we didn't put it up online. So I don't know if anybody could see it, but it was cool to hear him talk about, and he really kind of went back into that time period. So if you get a chance to read the story, but at that point, Leonard Hamilton was a young assistant coach, 25, 26 years old, was at Austin P. And there was talk that his coach, Lake Kelly, who was the head coach, was going to get a job at a bigger school. So Leonard went in to the president and said, would I be next in line?
Oh, that's the heartbreaking story that he's told before.
And,
it's hard to listen to that story.
And he was telling it. He's like, look, this is a good guy. He goes, I never have a problem with the guy. He said, I just don't think I can stand up to the pressure that we would have if we had a black
if we hired an African-American coach.
So that's when he got out of the business, and he took a job in sales, chemical sales with Dow Chemical.
Which is hilarious.
And then Joe B. Hall called him in Kentucky and said, hey, I'd like to make you the first black assistant coach in Kentucky. The rest of his career is history 50 years later. But
it'd be cool to see Leonard as a salesman.
Well, that's what I think Bob Ferrante actually asked the question. He's like, why, what did you think? Why did you think you'd be good in sales or something along those lines? And he said, he told Joe B. Hall, he's like, well, I'm about to go be the best salesperson in the country. Like that was his
the
mindset.
Yeah.
But just talking about just where he was at that time, and after seeing so much he was seeing in the world, just segregation and so much prejudice, and then to be told that even though he's done a great job at the school, he couldn't even be considered for that job. And then you just think about it's 50 years later, and you think about all the lives Leonard Hamilton has touched. And I think it's just fitting as we go into the Duke game tonight, and all the lives he has changed as a basketball coach. Now, a lot of these kids would have been great athletes no matter what, and would have had
as a mentor, though, beyond just basketball.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it all goes back to Joe B. Hall.
Joe B. Hall in 1974 called. This is also pretty cool. Telling you to kids out there listening, don't wait for things to happen. Joe B. Hall called him at his hotel on the Monday he started work at Dow Chemical. He talked to his wife and said, we'd like to see if Leonard would want to come for an interview. When Leonard called him back, he said, okay, could you come up by like Wednesday? He goes, I'm going out of town today. If you could come back by Wednesday, we can do an interview. And Leonard's like, well, are you going to be there tomorrow? And he said, yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. He goes, well, I'll be there then. So Leonard went and just like booked his own flight for that day to get the link and waited for him. He didn't wait till Joe B. Hall said, or maybe he got any second thoughts. So he went to the interview, and he said, Joe B. Hall said to him, you don't mess around, do you? And Leonard's like, nope. It's just pretty cool.
We greatly admire Leonard Hamilton for lots of reasons, but that kind of insight and that backdrop and that history and the lives that the aforementioned lives you're talking about that he's touched, that story is one of the richest amongst all the coaches that we've ever covered in any sport anywhere. I think I can safely say.
Yeah.
And he is respected universally for lots of reasons. His coaching prowess being one of them, but the character that is the man.
And he said, looking back, he overreacted. He felt like he probably should have been a little bit. But you think back, put himself
he was crushed,
in that time.
Your feelings are hurt. I mean, beyond.
Yeah,
I remember he admitted to crying. I mean,
it's
like
also like you're Austin P, man. What real pressure is there? I mean, I know I'm sure there was one.
But think about back then.
But is that an excuse? Of course you're cynical, but you might be cynical if you're Leonard Hamilton. Like, yeah, man, it's Austin P. I'm going to win you a lot of games, and people are going to forget the color of my skin really quickly if you let me do my job. And also, some people you got to be stronger. You got to be strong enough to make a hire like that. Like Joe B. Hall did, and like whoever the AD was at Oklahoma State that hired him to be the actual head coach.
But imagine the pressure you feel once given that opportunity too, though. It's a little bit different. It's not like you or I getting that opportunity.
Yeah.
You can't have missteps. You can't make mistakes. You're not afforded that opportunity. And so, and I do think that look at the players. And one of the reasons that we always have faith that the Florida State, even in the midst of a season like the one they're having right now, where they're not as strong as they've been the last few years, they've earned the benefit of the doubt for lots of reasons, but he's a principled man and you do things a certain way. And those guys eventually come around on that. And if they do, they always get the most out of what they are. Even if it's not the best version of Florida State basketball, it will be the best version this team can be before a season's in. It always ends up that way.
Yeah. And you're going to enjoy watching them beat Coach K tonight.
I'm going to pick Duke.
I am too. But I do, like we were talking about off air, I would like them to have like a they got to have some sort of farewell thing for K, right? Like just like a thanks for the memories, Coach K, and they'll show the snare shot. They'll show Derwin Kitchen going off in that one game.
Yeah.
They'll show the Jonathan Isaac game where they beat him by 15 down here and K wasn't even here.
Alexander Johnson getting ridiculous.
The tech.
The win up in Cameron, which was really good, where we stand up on the table. Of course, you got Laux.
Yeah, it would be funny to just. That would be kind of. I don't know that Florida State would ever do something like that, but that would be really funny if
Coach
they
K
did.
would chuckle. I think he actually would.
He would appreciate it.
Well, he's got an overwhelming winning record.
Yeah, he's like 41-10 against Florida State. Yeah. So you just
show the 10 times.
Yeah, the 10 times.
Only those 10.
Flip a couple double birds at the big screen.
Yeah. I mean, that would be really funny. He'd nod his head and wave.
Are you on the record of going with the Noles? I know. Come on, don't put in the crowd. Just tell me what you think.
No, I'd say Duke's going to win, but I think it's going to be a really good game. Like Florida State's going to play really well.
Should be a good atmosphere. And those Duke kids probably haven't been in an atmosphere.
I think
like
it'll be a
this
game with 5 minutes to go.
Hey, by the way, Florida State's student section, shout out time and again, man. They're so much better than back in the day.
Yeah, they're great.
They're early. They go nuts.
Even with those
difference.
They're great.
One of these days that'll get fixed.
Let's hope.
We'll keep hammering that.
I don't know. I like the empty seats behind the bench that you see on TV the whole game. I like that look.
And they're pushing for a whiteout tonight. I guess the students are. So there might be a lot of white shirts in the crowd. I don't know.
I
saw
don't know about
it on
all
Twitter
that.
yesterday.
I don't want to ruin it. I mean, the students have just got my affection, but what are we doing a whiteout for?
Just go play the game, guys. Just go play the game. We don't
an
need
ordinary game. We beat people here. It's what we do.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be special.
Good work, Corey. Good work, Ira. Good work, Matthew. Thanks to all of you as always. Be well, everybody. Go Noles. We'll talk to you next time.